If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest updates.
Okay, so the workaround is like this. Okay, so I hope you guys are aware that Esporana based PPDS or Esporana itself comes with two types of GUIs, user interfaces. One is based on this thing, right? This classical old way of accessing SAP systems, and it is there from 1960s or so when SAP came into picture, correct? Where you add your server and so and so on. Okay. But the other way is to access via Fury dashboard, because nowadays everything is going to cloud. So even the subscriptions are provided on cloud from SAP, Esporana cloud. You can implement for your customer. And so they have also created a new GUI, the Fury based GUI, right? Are you aware about it, or is any one of you using it in his own system, current project, Fury GUI? Nobody? Because
We have, but like it is not fully functional till now.
no. It cannot be fully functional or non-functional. It can be like you're using it or not using it, or your customer is comfortable using it or not, right?
Few
By
of
fully
them is
functional.
using, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the usability is lesser, because if someone is used to access SAP via this one, like me, I am not so much comfortable going in there, but then it comes with a lot of advantages also, right? You can access on phone, tablet, and so and so. Correct. It's faster. It's easier. Okay. So just like Esporana comes with that Fury thing, right? Just like your IBP comes with the Fury sort of web interface, correct? Similarly, because yes, PPDS is on Esporana, so you should be able to access it here. Okay, and to access the link, the transaction is /o/UI2/FLP. Just make a note of this, because sometimes if you do not know the link where to access it, then this is the T code. In any of your Esporana system, you can put it. So the T code says user interface 2 second user interface /FLP Fury Launchpad. Okay. I mean, this is how I remember myself. I don't know if it helps you, but otherwise, who would remember these alphabetical numerical characters just like that, right? So it is /UI2/FLP. Place enter. It would ask you that allow it to go and access the web interface. Okay. So the web interface opens. Okay. So let me ping you this in our teams, and please try to access it right away. Okay. Use the same ID and password that you are going to use for your regular SAP access, right? So for me, it is, sorry, question?
No.
Yeah. So try to use your same ID and password and see whether you are able to access it, because this is not VPN bound SAP access, right? PPDS access. So you should be able to access it. So just try it for a minute and let me know if you can.
Yeah, I can access it.
You are able to access. And who's that? Jyotsna. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Others, what's your status?
No.
Guys, Dhanashree, are you getting any error, or what's the problem?
Yes, your connection is private.
That's okay. Yeah, share your screen. I'll tell you how to bypass that, because that comes for some people. So just share your screen. I thought I am sharing my screen, but I was not. Kya? I don't know. Yeah,
No.
never mind. So see,
And
whenever, no,
this
just be on the screen. Okay. So whenever you get access issue like this, that happens because these are not available the internet usually, right? These server accesses. So just go to advanced in this case. Okay. And then proceed to Esporana thing, that below line. So everyone will have to do that at least once if it is, non-accessible to them, and you're through. Correct. Now try your ID and password. So basically, on the Esporana Fury Launchpad, you would by default find this advanced planning related tab. Okay. If somebody has played, sorry, somebody has played around with that already in advance, then people may have moved the applications from this style. Okay, advanced planning. But usually out of the box, it comes pre-packaged with all the necessary applications for SAP, for PPDS. Okay, so now I clicked here and you are able to see the product view. Okay, product view, product overview and product view. So this looks like a new app and we'll go through it once we set up all master and transactional data. Product view. So if you are aware about that RRP3 transaction, right, because you are comfortable with SNP and regular PPDS sometimes, then you would be knowing the RRP3. So what we will do henceforth is, once we show that in the regular GUI, we'll come back here and also verify. Because why I'm saying is, I may not be aware myself what is available, because this is a continuously evolving thing. Correct. So sometimes SAP is adding up new features here, and then this is becoming just like you go on a e-com portal, you go on Amazon, right, and you select 10 products, they appear in your cart and you just do checkout and done deal. So it is like buying, it is like booking a sales order. So it is so easy for anybody to do that there. Same way SAP is proposing. So even if you go in the sales order creation app via Fiori, you'll find exactly same thing. The purchasing guy just goes in, selects 10 products, puts the quantities, selects delivery date. That's the only, additional feature, to select delivery date. Boom, that's it. Simple. Correct. So these things are, becoming simpler to use for the end users. And if you remember my first and second sessions, I was talking about a term called des- sorry. Yeah, Dhanasha, you have a question?
No.
So I was talking about a term called design thinking. Just make a note of this term and read about it, because all the new softwares that are being built, and especially this SAP thing, that is all based on design thinking approach. What it means is, you always think from a end user perspective. So it is such a powerful concept, right? These things are, just like one app, no need of remembering transactions and so on. Go in, click in, put to cart and do it. So they are making it very easy to use. All the backend complications go in the technology, right? So the end user who is, say, purchasing guy, he does not need to go to that detail level. So that's how design thinking is important, and it is applicable concept to everything that you do, even to the personal life. Okay, trust me, it works. Maybe if we finish up earlier than all the sessions, then maybe 30-40 minutes I will explain to you what design thinking is. That is not in scope of PPDS, but that is for everything that we do, SAP you do or personal thing you do. All right, so if you are in the advanced planning and if you are able to see these apps, so we are not going to go through all the apps here, because they are actually, they are to be checked when we go actually in SAP backend tool also. But this planning products and resources, this particular subsection here is really something that we deal with it from PPDS perspective. So see, this app is called Advanced Scheduling Board. So just like I told you, one of the most important and powerful tool with PPDS is the detailed scheduling board, because planning, there are multiple options. Out of that PPDS thing, PP part is production planning. So to do production planning, there are multiple options like MRP, SNP, IBP, and so and so on. But for the detailed scheduling part of it, there is only one option. That is this PPDS tool. And because of that, this advanced scheduling board app is the most important one across all. And many times, because our detailed schedulers only go into this app, either this app or in the backend. And even whenever the scheduling is completed, right, you finalize the schedule for first 2 weeks or first 1 week, you pass on that same detailed scheduling screen to your shop floor guys, who would directly look at the schedule, that okay, I need to produce one particular product at this resource between time 12 to 2 and so on. Okay, so this is the one. The next important app is monitor capacity utilization, because this is all about capacities, correct? So what I mean is, you got 10 resources on your shop floor. Okay, you did planning, then you did scheduling and so on. Now, because it's a rough cut planning, and because sometimes you are doing only when you got an actual sales order, you're producing against it. So it is possible that you may have higher capacity than you can actually than you got the plan order for or production order for, correct? So that time, if he goes to this monitor capacity utilization app, he would know that I have got excess capacity. Okay, then what do I do? Okay, I'll overproduce so that I can pre-build my stock. This is fine, right? So top managers, top management might look at this one, correct? So top management in the sense the people who are capable of taking decisions of financials, because uh, planning something or making something in advance needs cost. There is no sales order, but you want to build something or produce something, and you want to store it. So everything involves cost. So that is why the top management would look at this, and they only can take a decision, not the scheduler. Okay, fine. So other thing that is important here is we will go through these apps which are PPDS relevant and all, but there should be an app to create material also. Just in case this thing gets delayed, your SAP GUI logon pad gets delayed, then let's see if there is any app to create a material. Because if you can create a material from here, it is the same app as your detail, your backend MM01 transaction. So can you guys also search if you are able to find, and maybe let's do it like this. Material where use list bomb, display material serial number, change material, send material, create material serial number. I suppose this is the one. Let's see if we got access. Now this is the serial number thing. So this talks about barcoding. Never mind. So display material serial number, send material. Looks like we create material, send, get, create material, change material, display material. Perfect. So see, let's go to the display material and just ensure that this is the same thing and this is exactly the same thing. See, I created yesterday raw, what was it? Raw mat, right? Anybody remembers? Yeah, raw mat 1 and 2. These are the ones that I created yesterday, correct? Say it, enter, and then select some important views or any one view, select your plan and done. So you are in. Perfect. Right. What else do you need? If at all your access gets delayed, you have everything to create your material. Let's see if you can create a bill of material also. So display, create bill of material. So you can also create a bomb. Good. So whatever we would do today, you can create here. Then resource. So create resource. You have it here. Okay. So anything that you want to create today and that I'll be creating, you already have that access here. Okay. Let me see if I can access SE11. So by searching transaction code, I think it does not give, because in general, the way I'm accessing material, this is not a Fiori tile, but this is actually accessing the backend GUI on the web only, right? Fiori tile is different. I mean, let's not go in technical details about it, but the programming on which the Fiori is based and the programming on which this GUI access is based are different. It is just like they have just pushed, because you see the blue line and all, they have just pushed the GUI access here. Okay, fine. But I think this way we should be good, and you should be able to access it. So anybody among our 10 people is not able to access the thing that I showed now, or are we good? Just give me a thumbs up, please. Say me yes, no, whatever. Guys, please don't be on mute. Just be talkative. It's
I'm able to log in.
great. And you could find the apps also, right, Josna? You should be able to see them.
Yes, yes, Shanil.
Yes.
Great,
Yes, even me also.
right? I mean, see, there may not be any rocket science because this is just available on internet. You can access on your phone also, I would say, right? So on the fly also, and this gives you a lot of flexibility to create material, select material, and then do whatnot. Okay, great. So now let us proceed with the next steps of our training session. Okay, so where did we stop yesterday? I especially stopped at this place, correct? So I've selected a location, a material. I created two raw materials against it, right? Now today's deal would be to create resources, bomb, recipe, and production version, so that I can immediately get into my material master or the required master data within PPDS. But before that, I was here in the material and trying to explain you some of the important concepts or some of the important attributes on the material. So Okay, before that, one question to be answered. I think Kshitij, yesterday your doubt was whether do we need that work scheduling view also or not, right? That's where was one of the open question. Kshitij is in today, right? Kshitij, yeah, he's there. Okay. So basically, if you go in here, MM03, so MRP 1234 are from procurement perspective. So this is the raw material. Okay. This is the raw material. I am not going to produce it. For example, if I am going to procure it from some other vendor, then only these views are necessary. But in case you have a in-house production product, okay, for example, the main finished product, that FG124 that I am using, if I'm going to produce it in-house, then I need to maintain the work scheduling tab. But for the raw materials, it need not be maintained. This is given. Why? Because see, all these tabs have all the information. This MRP 1 to 4 and also advanced planning, they have the information related to uh, how do I procure this material, in what quantity I procure this material, what is the MRP type for that. Okay, uh, if it is I have to always produce in the lot of 100, or I have to always produce minimum 5,000 quantity of it, and so on. So all these are procurement related things. Okay, but when you start producing it in house, so that time what you need is, okay, if I produce, then how much is my production time, in house production time? 10 hours. Okay, do I need to apply any setup time on top of that? Okay, 2 hours of setup time for this material for sure. 2 hours of tear down time. Tear down time is like, you material is too hot. Okay, you have to cool it down. So you have to anyway spend that 2 hours after production is done. That is tear down, and so on. So those kind of timings which are related to production in-house, they are to be maintained within work scheduling. Okay. So for these raw materials that we created yesterday, I need not to maintain them because I am not going to produce them in-house. My supply chain, remember, my supply chain is only around this plant, correct? So the raw material requirement will just generate some kind of some kind of dependent demand for the raw material. But for now, I am not making it complicated so that the raw material has to be produced at the same plant or procured and so on. We are not doing that yet. Okay, so what will happen is it will just create the dependent demand for raw material. It will not understand where to bring it from or where to produce, because we haven't done anything out that. And for now, I am very much comfortable putting it that way. Subsequently, we might want to add some complication. For example, this is raw material 1. Okay, and this is raw material 2. Okay, so I might want to introduce a vendor here to the supply chain and create the transportation lane so that it sends the purchase requisition to the vendor, that possible. Or I might want to create another bomb for this raw material at the same plant, so that it first of all creates the raw material and then creates the finished good, right? So we will add that complication as time permits later on, but for now we will just keep it in air, right? Let's see what happens. Okay, all right. So uh, I have this question. Everybody's keeping so quiet today. Is it the Friday effect, or what's the thing? Or can you guys be on unmute? Or otherwise, I mean, because this is a group of
Mm.
almost 10 people, so I'll have to call out the names and ask questions, and I think that works the best way. We'll do it that way. Okay. Hmm. Just tell me one thing, because most of you told you are able to access. So is there anyone still in the group who is unable to access this on the web, the Esporana? Because if you fall short, if you fall behind than us today, you may not be able to catch up, because setting up master data parallelly is the great deal. I can spend one additional session only on setting up master data, because that's the base. Okay, and then next other things are peripheral things that will keep coming. So you have to do that. You have to buckle up on the weekend if you haven't set up your master data yet. Okay, and from Monday onwards, I'll just call anybody. Okay, show me your master data, what's the status, and so on, because it has to pick up the high speed later. Anasha, yes, you're able to access, but you will have to spend some time to pick up your master data now, right?
Yes, I can access the link. I'm exploring the apps.
And okay, even if you guys have got now this web access, still try to get the installation done, because it is better to know both the things, because the world hasn't completely moved to web yet. They are still in the old access only. So you might face both types of customers. Yeah. Okay. Right. Is Kshiti's, are you quiet today? What happened? Well, I was explaining your doubt. You didn't say a word. Are you listening to us? Something is wrong. It
Yeah,
looks
hi,
like.
Anil. No, yeah, actually, yeah, there is some, I was facing some network issues. I was just, trying to fix it. Yeah, I think now can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Can hear
Yes,
you
yes.
well.
No, no, I have listened that part, that
Ah,
was scheduling one. I was
okay.
just facing some issues in logging in. I mean, in
Is it?
the, yeah, it's asking basically the password change. I don't know why it is asking. So I just
Where?
didn't
Which one?
interrupt
Web
it
UI?
in between. No,
Yes,
this,
web
yeah,
for web UI.
web UI. Yeah.
For web UI, you have to change your password. Put the current
Okay.
password and then change it.
See, it is not only for web UI. If you are
Yeah,
using that password
just standalone.
first time,
Yes,
either
makes
here or
sense.
there. So first time, because that's the initial password that is given to you. So you
Yeah.
have to change it. Right. And perhaps Kshitish, the SAP guys have gone mad actually. So they put lot of complicated rules. You might be selecting all small letters or no special characters. So that's the thing. So yeah, that's why it is
Yeah.
asking
Yeah,
you to set.
we have to select
Okay.
the like
Mm,
we have to follow the standard rules of password.
exactly.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. All right, fine. But now keep it aside for some time, because I'm going to explain some of the very important concepts from the material master. Okay, we'll come back to
Yes, sir.
that soon. Okay. So now, yesterday, what we did is we send the location first of all, correct? And you guys remember how do we send the location to PPDS from
Mm,
S4HANA?
and the create location.
Okay.
Exactly. Right. So similarly, there is a change location program function module or program also, but then perhaps you might not need it because locations are not many in any supply chain network, so you may not need to change it. But products, once the product is sent, you are able to see that into mat1 transaction. I am hoping that all of you are aware about this slash SAP APO slash mat1 transaction. Okay, go in the display mode. Okay, there are multiple tabs. We are not going through all of them because they are there. They are coming from S4HANA. We don't own that. For example, if you talk about the unit of measure thing, conversion. So there is always a base unit of measure on top. Okay, so everything that happens around this product is around these pieces, correct? So whatever quantity you want to produce or procure, that will be those many pieces always. And this is universal truth. However, just like in SNP planning book, you would have seen that you can change the unit of measure on the fly. Okay. Or else if you are comfortable in IBP, then IBP is actually aggressively promoting it that you can change the unit of measure on the fly and in any analytics or alerts and whatever you do. Okay. So PPDS is that way a little bit far behind because it's still the old way of working, but then we don't need to do that because at one plant, it is not universal. So you wouldn't expect that, okay, the scheduler is sitting in America and he is doing a scheduling for a plant in India. Not possible, right? You would like to have a scheduler or planner sitting right there. By the way, I have to take this 7 minutes of diversion because I am using that terminology multiple times, but I don't know if you guys are aware about it. So different types of planners in a system. Okay, we being the supply chain planning and production planning detail scheduling consultants, we should know what are different types of planners in the system. So I am again going back to this complicated, simple, whatever diagram. Okay. Now, so what happens is in this diagram, what we are doing is we are doing the execution in the first 2 weeks. Okay. In the first 2 weeks, we actually pick up the plan order to convert to production order and do all the detail scheduling out here. This is it, right? 2 weeks. Then from week 3 onwards till month 12 onwards, sorry, yeah, month 12 onwards, we are doing, this is the tactical horizon, where week 3 to month 12, what are we doing? We are just doing a network planning, correct? Network and a production planning, for example, correct? Because there will be production plan orders created as well as procurement orders created. So here, somewhere, if you see lower capacity, higher capacity, we are adjusting the demand, we are adjusting the supply, and so on. And afterwards, from quarter one of next year to quarter four of next to next year, like for next 2 3 years horizon, we are doing a strategic planning. So this is so complicated, okay, that all these things are done by different kinds of planners, and that is why it is utmost necessary that you use the right keywords while addressing your planners. Okay, so somebody who is doing actually executions here, he is actually picking up the order and doing the scheduling. So what time, what operation gets scheduled. So that is why we call it as production scheduler. Okay, always, and this is universal true. Okay, production scheduler. So most of the times, I mean 95% times, you will find that the production schedulers are always next to the plant. They are sitting at the plant because they are the ones who are doing the raw material planning at the shop floor. They are the ones who are actually doing your labor resources, shifts management, and all those things. So they are the ones who are actually making the shop floor production to happen. So we call them production schedulers. Then comes in this horizon, okay, in the 1 year horizon, we are doing network planning, like supply network planning. So you're just deciding ki kitna, how much raw material you need to procure from the vendor in a probable basis. You do not have sales orders here, you have just the forecast in this period, correct? So you're doing a rough cut planning. So you are tentatively deciding that, okay, I need so and so raw material in so and so fashion from so and so vendor. Okay, this customer might be giving me an order, so let me put in his customer independent requirement or plan independent requirement, and so on. So this guy, whoever is doing it here, we call them what? We call them as supply planners, not supply chain. Okay, so these guys who are doing this entire supply, they are supply chain planners. Then there is one type of planner who is actually beside this, okay, under this supply planner, because supply planner has to do a very long term planning. Why? Because the vendor lead times could be very long many times. Okay, so that is why I am giving him 12 months of horizon here to just do his planning. So whenever they review the results of our supply chain planning results every week, they would do such a long term planning. But under that, for the first 1 month or so, after the scheduling is done, for this 1 month or so, okay, there will be another guy who is just taking a decision about shop floor adjustment, not the day-to-day thing, right? He's not deciding ki, what is the resource shifts and all, because he's still doing a planning, but he is doing some sort of adjustments, long-term adjustments at the production planning. So what it does is, he's called production planner, by the way. Okay, so what this guy is doing is, he would pick up this plan, the production plan that has been fed from the tactical planning engine. He would pick that plan. He would look at that and see, okay, I have in week 5, I have got some higher demand, and week 4, I do not have. So he would ship the plan order here. In case there is no plan order in week 3 itself, and there are bigger quantity plan orders here, then he would shift it here so that all the 4 weeks run equally. So some sort of designs he would take, I mean some sort of decisions he would take which are governing the production plan. So by the time the production plan is refined by him in these 4 weeks and it enters into week 2 week 3, the scheduler does not need to apply his head for doing the planning. He just have to apply his head for doing the scheduling, because by the time he doesn't, he or no company allows you any changes in the production plan by this time. They only do, okay, quantity is asked is 100, okay, I'm going to schedule it. Now how do I schedule and how do I produce, that is my headache. But he will not make that 100 to 110 or 120. Those decisions are taken by the production planners. So supply planner followed by production planner. There is one more planner who is sitting on top of them, and he actually goes to all the 3 years, okay, and that guy we usually call it as demand planner, because the demand planning guy has to really think about it. So my example was Apple iPhone being released in India, correct? So the demand planner will he will have his ground agents, right? They will see that, okay, India is rising and the people spending capacity is increasing, and that is why their iPhone buying capacity is also increasing. So why it is happening? So he would already judge that, okay, in quarter 3 I need to produce. I'm already seeing this much forecast, correct? So that would be the input coming from the sales people, correct? He would also look for, okay, boss, suddenly if the natural calamity happens, the COVID stucks, then this is the problem. The Suez Canal issue happens, then this is the problem. Then I need to think about sometime if this happens, then I need to think about having some advanced demands and so on. So this is the guy who is thinking it that way. So these are various sorts of planners. Okay. These strategic horizon people, I'm not calling them planners because they are the decision makers based on the inputs coming from these planning guys. Okay, they are the decision makers. Okay, you remember I told you that they do not influence the demand, but based on the demand, they influence that, okay, I need to create one additional plant or additional warehouse storage location in this area. So they take those kind of money spending strategic decisions. But here is the deal. So these are various types of planners that we have. Okay, so I keep saying in this case, where was I? Why did I? Yeah, I keep saying in this case that the unit of measure conversion may not be necessary for production planning. Why? Because usually the production scheduler, sorry, my bad. The unit of measure conversion may not be necessary for production scheduler because the production scheduler sits at the plant itself. This guy, the scheduling guy, this 2 weeks of first, he sits at the plant because he has to look after the shop floor. However, when it comes to the production planner, so there could be one regional production planner. Okay, for entire India, there could be one single production planner for all the plants. I have seen for across Europe, there are multiple countries, multiple languages, multiple units, and so on. Still one single production planner looks after all the 10 plants, correct? So that time this unit of measure conversions play a pivotal role. It would rarely happen that an American guy is doing the production planning for European plant because that's actually a, you change the complete continent itself. But regional wise it is quite possible. So that's where this UM conversions play a role. Okay, fine. Now let me just go to another important tab, demand tab. I'm skipping for now because our next total the module 2 is dedicated to this, and this governs your make to order, make to stock strategy. So I'll skip it for now. Only this requirement pegging, availability, and demand penalties. Okay, however, I want to spend some time on the consumption part here. Okay, this part I'm not skipping. I'm just keeping it aside for temporarily, the other side, because this is coming soon. But the consumption part, okay, under demand. By the way, are you guys following me, or am I talking too much and it's going tangential? Give me very frank feedback. I am so open for improvisation at any point in time. Please, I don't want to just chit chat and nothing goes in the head. So please say it. Anybody who is
We are
not,
good.
you are able to capture, right? See,
Yes, yes.
I mean, sometimes you might feel I'm diverting and expressing other things, but they are necessary for a consultant. Consultants are not technical guys only, right? He's not someone just ko bolo a plus b equal to c ka formula likh do. No, we are not programmers, correct? We are the ones who are
Yes.
selling this software to others, so we should know peripheral things. We should know how to talk about it, correct?
Yeah.
And you know, nobody would teach you that. Not even I am going to teach you that. This is your self introspection. So just observe people, observe great people. I mean, consultants are, even the doctor, they don't call themselves as doctor. You see the designation that MDs, doctors, right? They are, say, some cardiologic consultant or nephrology consultant. That's how they call it, because they only talk, right? They know how to sell it positively to the patients. So same thing applies here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let us go to the consumption part here. Okay. And I am still here in the PP part. Okay. Production planning part. So if you are using this PPDS, PP part of PPDS, still this consumption is required. If you go in SNP, if you go in IBP, if you go in MRP, this consumption is required, right? So that is a basic inherent property. If you don't want the consumption to happen, then you have to simply avoid maintaining anything out here. If you want it, if you maintain something here, it would do the consumption, correct? So before I start explaining, any idea with anybody what a forecast consumption is? This thing is forecast consumption. What a forecast consumption is? Guys from SNP and IBP background, please say it loud. Be confident. Yes, anybody?
Sir, reading this back scenario for the future consumption, looking all the back consumption, taking the history of 27 months or 24 months for future, for the future graphical representation, forecast consumption.
Kakib, you said many things actually, and they were random. They are not close to what is expected. The only word that you said, forecast consumption, is close to what is expected here. Minus 27 plus 27, or maybe you know the concept, but you could not put it in words, perhaps. Anybody else want to try? Dead silence. Come on, guys.
I mean, yeah, like based on a particular month, if you take, right, like consumption mode, we have like different kinds of consumption mode we have, like monthly and backward forward, right? So we are trying to see, like, I mean, how the actual demand, so which is a real demand, like sales orders, how it is like getting consumed by the forecast.
Hmm.
So
That's good. Let's close.
yeah.
Okay, no, that's close. But let me explain you, and please use the exact same method that I'm going to explain you now to explain this to any of your customers. This is going to be valid for next 100 years. These fundamentals are not going to change. Okay.
Yeah.
प्लानिंग वर्सेस एक्चुअल्स के बीच में जो डिफरेंस है वो 100 years तक रहने वाला. Trust me. All that you see on the screen is about deciding ki how do I want to plan, whether I want to plan against a sales order or against a forecast or against both, and if I use to both, then how. So this left side part is about deciding your demand management. Okay, and that's what I would explain next. But I would assume that, say you decided this strategy 20, and this strategy 20 is whatever it can be, doesn't matter. So it means that you have decided that you want to use both sales order and forecast in your network. If the customer is building a very expensive product, he may not want to build it against the forecast, because if the product takes $1 million to build, right? So why would he build it against the forecast? He would want to build it against a sales order. So only when he knows that the customer is there, I'll build it. Correct. So such kind of activities play a important role for that make to order, make to stock and so scenario. But assume that we have decided that we are going to use both types of demands, forecast and sales orders. Okay. These are two types of demands that we have. Okay. And then final demand, or total demand. I would call it as total demand next. You have got number of weeks, and use this exact similar box structure and all while you talk to your customer, because I have seen end users getting confused with it many times. Okay, so you got, say, week 1, week 2, week 3, and I'm explaining you in the week format. It can be monthly also, it can be daily also, whatever is your preferred method. Okay, fine. Say you have predicted 100 forecast all across. Okay, that is your prediction from week 1 up to whatever number of weeks you're planning or forecasting. So 100 is your forecast that you predicted for week 14. Correct. Week 14 is roughly 3.5 months. Sales order may not be matching exactly same, right? Perhaps you got a sales order of 200 quantity here. Then you got a sales order of 500 quantity here. Then you got a sales order of 100 quantity here. And finally, you got a sales order of 300 quantity here, 400 quantity here. Roughly, anything it could be. Correct. So what happens is, if I just simply say total demand, okay, so total demand is equal to sum of your forecast and sales order. If I assume, then it is 100 here. But if you go forward, it can be, say, on some weeks it is going to be double than the forecast. Okay, so here it was a forecast of 100, you got total demand of 100, and you planned against it. But here you forecasted 100, you got sales order of 200. So in general, you got total of 300 demand, correct? So that way, if you just total it up, overall total, okay. So for these 3.5 months, how much you planned for initially is 1400 quantity, correct? Okay. And how much is the sales order that you finally received? Is 1200 quantity. Okay. But if you are just summing it up, how much is the total demand that you planned? Right? What happened? Yes. Okay. Okay. 2600. So you see the difference. You originally, because for next 2 years or so, you have been thinking that you will get 1400 demand. In reality, you got 1200 demand. But if you added both of them, you planned for 2600 demand. So this is not possible, right? Especially for this 200. So you have been planning for week 2 that you're going to produce 100, but in reality, you got a sales order of 200, and you're saying that, okay, boss, now give me 300 quantity. That's impossible to happen, correct? How can you triple the production so suddenly? So for these reasons, the consumption activity comes in. So see, forecast is what? Forecast is just the temporary representation of a sales order. Correct. So whenever the actual sales order arrives, the sales order should consume the forecast. So you need not to double count the forecast. This 100 is here and 200 arrived here. So you have to actually consider only 200 because 100 is less than 200, right? So this will automatically go out and this will become 200. Fine. So I'm doing one thing. I'm just consuming the forecast on the same week when the sales order arrives. Correct. So there was 100 here. So I have got 200. So I'll consume it because it's less. If the sales order was higher quantity, then perhaps the consumption may not happen. In that case, the forecast will be higher. Correct. Because if I plan for the forecast, I will plan against the same quantity. So in this case, I did this consumption. Similarly, here also I did this consumption. Here is 100 is consumption, and this 400 is consumption. This is the thing. So what happened finally, even if I consume the sales order forecast by the sales order, still I am planning 2200, whereas originally I planned for 1400 only. Remember, the original forecast was 1400. So to avoid this and to also have the intermittencies avoided, we apply some kind of logic which is called backward and forward consumption. What it means is, whenever the sales order arrives, it may not be exactly equal to the forecast of that week. So you first consume the forecast by the sales order of that week. If still the sales order is higher, you go backward direction and consume the forecast. Then you go forward direction and consume the forecast. Or you only go in backward direction, or you only go in forward direction. So this is the case of backward forward consumption. Okay. And that is what we govern here. So what we do for forecast consumption is we first of all specify the mode of consumption, which is backward only, backward forward, forward only, or period based conversion. Okay. Consumption, sorry. So here what we have chosen, period based, is you can specify a specific time period like only 3 weeks and 4 weeks and so on and so on. So it depends, right? That's a custom thing. But for now, focus on this either backward or forward or backward forward. So I am choosing two, which is backward forward. I cannot change the settings within PPDS. Again, this is coming from S4, MRP 1234, one of those tabs. Okay, so you need to make changes there if you want to reflect it here. But if I say two, so I am specifying that 100 days backward and 100 days forward. Okay, this is in days, backward consumption period and forward. If I select one, then it is only backward, so forward makes no sense in that case. It's like that. Usually these are too many. Okay, these are days only or weeks. I think these are days only. I forgot. Yeah, in calendar days. Yeah. So basically 100 days is too much. Usually you would have like 2 weeks or so, like 14 days, 28 days or so. 100 is somebody is playing badly here. Doesn't matter. But now assume that this is like 10 days backward, 10 days forward. So in this case, what would happen is this forecast arrived here. 7 days are here. Calendar days it is talking, not the working days. Okay. It is calendar days. So he would consume the forecast for 7 days here. Okay. And then it would go back. And for the sake of simplicity, consider is 14 days backward, 14 days backward, forward. So 200 has consumed the forecast here. Then it would go backward and consume 7 days back, because sorry, 14 days back. So 2 more weeks it can go back. So it found one forecast here, so it would consume that also. So that Sales order consumes this side. Now this entire sales order has consumed the forecast because there was 100 plus 100, 200 is gone. So this is fine. So even if it's good forward, it has nothing to be consumed. This is good. For 500 case, it consumed 100. Then it can go 2 weeks back, 2 weeks back. So 100 consumption happened, 200, then 300 consumption happened, then forward 2 weeks, then 400, and then 500. So this way the consumption has happened in both directions here. Fine. This sales order has consumed this own forecast, no issues, and this 400 and consume this forecast, but it can still go back 2 weeks. So it will consume here, consume here. Correct. So 2 weeks backward, it consumes. So there is nothing to be consumed in the forward direction. So it will remain as it is. Right. So the result is my total demand is now 1500. I needed one more week in the forward direction to consume this the 400, because this 400 consume 100 plus 100 plus 100, 300. So it has still appetite of consuming one more week, which is in the forward direction. So I could have done that in the forward direction. So it would have become 1400 original. Correct. So with this forecast consumption, at least we are able to bring up the total demand equivalent to what we forecasted for. Correct. I'm not then asking the system to overproduce. Now you would ask me an obvious question that, sir, for week 100 forecast was there. So the production would have happened of 100 already. Then week 200 already. Correct. But the sales order arrived 1 week later. So this type of fill rate intermittency keeps coming because you do not have control over the actual sales order. Correct. So in that case, also they would continuously keep building because you are still building in advance only, right? So it would keep building, and whenever the sales order arrive, they do a goods issue against it. Or sometimes they might want to prepone the forecast and then they do goods issue for the sales order already. So that is the job role of that production planner in those week 3, 4, 5, 6 in these weeks here. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So this is the beauty of forecast consumption. There are some caveats here. Is like the duration that you decide that how many weeks backward, how many weeks forward you undergo. That is very, very important. Why? Because it depends, right? Intermittency of your sales order will play a role. Say, for example, you did your forecast in a normal manner, that 100 quantity every week, and you know that your sales order comes in very intermittent manner, right? Suddenly the sales order of 1000 quantity would come and there is nothing for next 10 months and so on. So in that cases, you as a production planner only know about this thing, right? That okay, the lag that is there between my sales orders is 10 months. So you would keep 10 months of backward forward consumption, right? This is it. So the duration to be decided, it comes with an experience that you neither you have nor me. It is with the planners only. And that's why during implementation, we do decide many times what as a consultant, what we should suggest it. Let us do one thing. Let us try with 4 weeks backward, 4 week forward for now and see the results during UAT when the live data is there. So if it is not, if what you will observe then that, okay, here was 1400 original demand like this, and in the end after consumption I am getting 1500, it means I may need to increase one more week. Correct. Because I am getting this some percentage of deviation. Correct. So these decisions are taken based on data later, but that is the concept of forecast consumption. Any doubt? Any question? Or nothing is clear? Or I'm not audible at all?
No, it's clear and yeah.
It's clear.
And then what
From my
happens
side
when
also.
the consumption mode is only like, let's
Yeah.
say only forward or only backward? In
Or
those cases,
maybe we don't have any forward or backward.
You
That means
mean
it will consume only in that time period, right?
absolutely only in that time period. If you do not specify 0 weeks here, then it will consume only in that time period. That's for sure. Yeah. Or if you specify here only backward. So in this example, 100, 100, 100. Okay. Let us bring it back and say you have the consumption specified only in the backward direction for 2 weeks or 4 weeks, maybe. So this 200 would consume this forecast and this forecast in backward. Fine. Then this 500 would consume the forecast of this. maybe it is 4 weeks, okay, or how many weeks? 3 weeks. Okay, so this would consume these 3 weeks and the current week. This is gone. This would consume these 2 weeks. This is no, not 100 would consume only this 100. My bad. Okay, and this 400 would consume this. 3 weeks I said, right? Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
So ultimately it is the same. So because this is so simple example, so we came near about 1500. So it depends. Backward and forward, there is one additional point here is how much is the accuracy of your forecast. I mean, this topic is a mix of demand planner, supply planner, both, because forecast accuracy is really depends on what that. Okay, boss, in this week you predicted 100 forecast, but you actually got 200 sales order. So your accuracy is minus 50% in this case, correct? And I'm not going into demand details, but the accuracy plays a pivotal role. And you know, SAP tries to sell it that IBP gives you highest accuracy possible. There are many other tools, but it's judgmental. Yeah, right, fine. But this is the way. And as a consultant, your takeaway would be suggest you explain first of all, because it is easy for you guys to understand. You're coming from the consulting background. You may have seen this. Okay. But when it comes to the shop floor guys, they simply cannot comprehend this. You know, one issue I have mainly seen is those people who are implementing planning system first time, they are coming from Excel background only. First time I'm saying, okay, greenfield implementation. So if they are coming from Excel background, they usually don't do planning at all. They get a sales order. Okay. They ask the sales order in advance. They plan against it, produce against it, done, dusted. So this type of concept of planning, whenever gets introduced, then the forecasting and the demand planning gets introduced. So they have to start planning for 2 years, 3 years horizon. And there is a very big problem for them, that how can I produce for forecast? What if I don't get a sales order? Where do I store that material? How will I justify the raw material purchasing, right? Where the investment is going to come from, and so on. So such things are so dangerous, and they are the people who have been doing this type of planning for last 15, 20 years or whatnot. So they they get shaken, right? And this is the biggest challenge for greenfield implementation, that you cannot convince the people well. So you have to tell them that, boss, you're planning this at advance. Now this will, if you do it like this, that with the correct forecast consumption logic, you are not actually overproducing things. You are going to get the sales order. So start trusting your forecast first of all, and then put the parameters in such a way that you are not overproducing at all. You don't need to spend. So these things, this is a process, and that's why we call it as a business transformation process many times, right? And that is where you as a consultant play an important role. You have to give him that confidence, console him, and explain to him that this is better. And we are not applying that to production. We will first test it thoroughly. I'll prove that this works, and then go forward. So this will be your differentiator, so being a talkative consultant. Yeah.
So, but this sales order will consume the forecast once that means its goods issue is completed, right?
No. Goods issue is the
No.
next step. See,
Okay.
we are doing the consumption to calculate the total demand. Now this total demand gets fed into your planning engine. So it would start doing the production planning and network planning on top. So it will create plan orders and purchase requisition. So in this case, what would happen? Okay, assume that this is your final consumption, final demand. Okay, including forecast and sales order. So you would create what you would create, say 300 quantity of purchase requisition or 300 quantity of plan order. This plan order would get converted subsequently to production order. Once the production order completes, you will get a stock by doing a goods is receipt. That stock will get issued against the sales order. So that time the goods receipt would happen for the sales order and the truck would go away. So that's the process. We are still in the planning phase. What you're talking about, goods issue, goods receipt, is after the planning is done and after the execution is done, right? You have any doubt in this process yet still? That's Josna, right?
No, Dhanashree.
Yeah. So Dhanesh, you have any doubt still?
Um,
See, I'll tell you one more time. First of all, planning happens. Okay. So the result of planning is forecast. Okay. Rather, let me, first of all, demand planning happens. Okay. Demand planning. So it would generate your forecast. Fine. Then your supply planning happens. So that would convert this forecast into what? Forecast into plan orders, right? Just talking from a planned perspective. So the supply planning, or you call it as material requirement planning or any type of planning, you would convert that forecast into plan orders. Correct. Once this thing is done, then your detailed scheduling would happen. The scheduling would actually have production orders or process orders. Correct. The plan orders are converted to process order. But by the time the scheduling is happening, you are expecting this forecast to also get some sales order against it. Correct. Because you did the planning in the long term horizon, but it arrived now in the week 1, week 2 or shorter horizon. So this forecast would have been converted to sales order by this time. Correct. So this situation, basically this one. Now this sales order may not be equal to forecast. If you got 100, you planned for 100 forecast and you got 100 sales order, you're perfect here, right? You planned for something and you got for something, no doubt. So you will not have any forecast here. But in case you forecasted for 200 and you got only 100 sales order, so the result would be 300 demand. Correct. Not 300, sorry. The 100 sales order would consume 100 forecast. So there will be 100 forecast and 100 sales order. So in total, there will be 200 demand remaining after that. Right? So that 200 will have 100 of sales order and it will also have 100 of forecasting. This is your wrong forecast accuracy, that you planned something and you got actually something. So it is possible that it happens. So here at the time of scheduling, you will have sales order as well as forecasting. If you got 100 equivalent to 100, then there is no forecast because all the forecast is consumed by the sales order. So you got only sales order. We're doing it here. So once the production order is completed, what you get is stock. This is the execution side. Okay, so you do a goods receipt GR on the production order and you convert it into stock, and then you do a goods issue against the sales order, and that sales order truck leaves the warehouse. This is how it goes on. So this is actually transportation related thing. So all these things are connected to each other, but they go in this sequence. We are focusing on the planning and scheduling aspect of it, right? So before doing the planning and scheduling, this we have to ensure that my total demand based on which my planning is happening is most accurate. How can I ensure to most accurate is I am doing the consumption of forecast based on sales order. Yeah. To avoid the double counting. Is it clear?
Yes.
If you guys have doubt, keep
Thank
asking.
you.
I don't mind.
Anil, I hope
Yeah.
you don't mind me asking. I mean, when you will be explaining that MTS and MTO scenarios, so like, can you explain one time at least the whole cycle of planning? I mean, the way you have shown now, like
Okay.
in those both cases, so that at least I don't want that order to cash one, but yeah, at least still planning one, right? So that it will get we will have some
Certainly.
clarity. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Point noted. We'll do that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Now
And
let's go to
one
the
one
next.
more thing, Swapnil. Like you told about the forecast accuracy, right? So it depends from I mean industry to industry, right? Like uh, so like what is the average like we can say like the forecast accuracy we generally have as per SAP standards and
60 to
or
70.
across the industry? Do we have
60
any?
to, there is no benchmark as such. It only comes with
Okay.
experience. But usually, if somebody is saying I achieve 90% accuracy, it is difficult. You generally get 60 to 70% accuracy, to be very
Okay.
frank. Okay. Because, the tools, the engines, the planning engines, the forecasting engines that we are using, they are still, something similar, which is available in Excel also. I said some of the statistical forecasting algorithms you can also do based on Excel. IBP is something that is binding all of them together. Correct. That is why it is a tool.
Mm.
But even in
Yes.
Excel, if you are comfortable doing VB programming, you can create your own module out there, and you should explore doing this kind of experiments on your own. So the accuracy, y- you know, uh, And I can predict this thing. Even if the technology is advancing so much that machine learning algorithms are coming up, you have got this AI and all those things. So people will propose that the accuracy will increase. But my personal opinion is, even if we are advancing in technology, at the same time we are actually destroying the nature, destroying the environment, and so the natural calamities would keep affecting your accuracy for sure. You take an example this year itself, the rains that are happening all across India. Have you seen such situation earlier? Entire North India is flooded, correct? Now you
Yeah.
saw in Maharashtra yesterday there was rains, in South there will be rains, then last year or 2 years back there was something in Kerala. So these things are unpredictable. We
Yeah.
think we are doing it, but then no, the landslides are happening. So the result, say the entire North Indian FMCG actual sales order would have gone at toss now. Why? Because they would have predicted that okay, this is the month of rainy season. Okay, not 100, but I may get 80 quantity. Okay, but in reality, the roads are blocked and everything is disturbed, so they wouldn't have got even a zero quantity, right? That's null, nothing. So all the forecast accuracy goes at toss. So these things play a role. Last time there was this Suez Canal issue. That was a man-made thing, right? But the natural things I'm telling, the COVID. So these are happening more and more these days. So that is why I am a strong believer of sustainability. I am not an expert. This is something personal. So I keep reading about sustainability. SAP is lagging behind. Okay, they are not including any sustainability related characteristics yet in the planning, but I think that's going to be a future in couple of months, not months, years time. You will see that, for example, if you do a production planning, correct, what you try to do, or your network planning, you try to reduce the transportation durations, right? Say you got two sources or two plants to procure one material from. What will you do? You will just put some random cost that this plant is cheaper, this plant is costlier, I'll buy it from the cheaper one, something like this. This is a generic supply chain decision. But there has to be one additional parameter which says that if I procure it from that plant, then I will be releasing so and so carbon footprints. And if I procure from another plant, so and so carbon footprints. So the lesser the footprint are, I have to procure from there. Everything, all the planning should should also have this kind of constraint of carbon footprinting. Otherwise, we cannot avoid this forecast accuracy deviations in future. Trust me, we are at that cusp. So all of you guys also please start doing that, start reading about it, so that we as a consultant apply that into it. There are facilities. If you are into IBP or into S4 HANA, there are some sustainability related topics, but they are at so nascent stage. People are, this is like a survival struggle for the companies yet, that okay, first of all I need to digitize myself, then I'll think about sustainability. But I think they can go hand in hand. They have to be done right now. Otherwise, this is inevitable. Can't help it. Yeah. Sorry, I diverted the topic
Yeah.
totally, but
No, no.
my advice is
Yeah.
please read about it. Please read.
Yeah,
If you,
sure.
yeah, I mean,
Sure.
as a hobby, also read about it and apply that to everything that you do, personal life to professional life, everywhere.
Sure. And
Okay.
this is this thing which you are explaining in Excel. This is basically nothing but that demand and supply concept, right? This is a so in a nutshell. Can you just explain later? Like I mean, when you will be covering demand management?
Hmm. I will cover up. Okay,
Yeah.
now that point is taken. So we will
Yes.
talk about it that time also.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Now I'm going to lot size tab and PPDS only. We will cover two more tabs and we'll be done with the product master side of it. Coming specially to lot size because of these settings. So if you see under lot size, there are some settings like lot for lot, fixed lot, periodic lot, reorder point, and so on. Okay. We are doing production planning. These are important in production planning. Why? Because see, when we do a production, okay, so some customers have a specific requirement that okay, unless and until I have to produce 1000 quantity of this product, I'm not starting the production line for you. And that is quite possible, right? That again goes back to that sustainability angle. I mean, I am connecting it, not SAP has connected it that way, that if I have got 10 orders of 100 quantity each, so I have to start the production line every time. So starting and completing it would be like extra overburden on my electricity bills and so on. So I have to produce only 1,000 quantity whenever I reach at least minimum. Correct. So you might want to put some minimums on top of it. Okay. Or you might want to always produce in the lot of 10,000 quantity. So even if your demand is 50,000, I'll still produce 5 lots of 10,000 because that is how my packaging happens. Correct. So based on my full packaging of the pallet, you would decide I would just do that lot of 50 of 1,000, 10,000, 10,000 of 5. So these things are decided here. Okay. If you say lot for lot, it means that whatever is the demand, produce equivalent to that. जो lot आया वही lot बनाया. Simple. If it is a fixed lot and specify some value, even if 50,000 quantity come, it would always produce that fixed lot quantity of 10, 10, 10, 10, 10,000. Okay. Similarly, there are some other things here. I'm now going into most important ones, but if at all you have to explore something, you can press F1 on top of it. That helps. But if you go to quantity and date determination, okay, so the lot for lot, fixed lot, or a periodic lot, what they would do is they would decide that how should the quantity be. Okay, how should the quantity be based on your demand. Periodic lot I should talk. So if you say periodic lot and if you specify say weekly or monthly or whatever lot says, then it would just create one order per month or per week, whatever periodicity you define here. It means that you are say getting a demand of 10,000 every week. Okay, but you have defined a periodic lot size that I am going to produce this product only once in a month. Then whatever is the demand for that entire month, it would club together and create just one plan order only once. It will not produce multiple times, right? So that is periodic lot. Reorder point is something that, okay, you just start producing whenever you meet a specific reorder point that I have to produce. I go below some minimum supply. Say you decide reorder days supply. So on 10,000 is your reorder days supply, right? So if you go below 10,000 on one particular day, you create a plan order for whatever demand is there. If you are above that reorder days supply of 10,000 in your stock availability, you do not go beyond that. So pay attention to these three: lot for lot, fixed, and periodic. These are the procedures that govern how are you going to produce. But how much are you going to produce is decided based on the next step, which says minimum 5,000. If you say, okay, if you have decided lot for lot on the other tab, that whatever is the input requirement you would produce. But if you decide that minimum is 5,000, so even if your quantity requirement is 10,000 or 5,000 or whatever, sorry, 1,000 or 2,000, it would produce at least 5,000 all the time because you said minimum 5,000. Maximum lot size is also you put a maximum cap of 500,000 only. Your plan order cannot go beyond that. Why? Because if you produce more than the maximum, then you may not have a space to store it at the plant. So that is why maximum lot size things are put up. If you say rounding value, then for rounding, it will always create in multiples. Say even if your demand is 1,200 or 1,400, and if you say rounding value is 500, then it will always create 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. So it will be in a lot. And this thing is helpful in case that your packaging can happen only when 500 materials are there together. Correct. If there are 400 doesn't happen. So you would put a rounding on top of it. So these are your production planning related settings, and they are important. I have to explain you that here. I just created a table for you. Okay. So that it is more clear to you. And this is the way you will have to explain to your customer also. Okay. So imagine that you got a lot for lot type of setting. Okay. Your demand is 20, 20, 20. Okay. Sorry. Demand is 20, 20, and 50. There are three demands. So this is your input demand. This is your input demand 20, 20, 50 in 3 weeks. So when you say lot for lot, it will just create 20 to 20, 20 to 20, and 50 to 50. Just jo lot aaya wahi banaya. Simple. But if you say fixed lot size of 40, then it would create 40 in the first week. Even if you're asking for 20, it would create 40 because it's a fixed lot size. This 40 can cover up demand of this one and this one. So it will not create anything next week, but it would in the next to next week, it would create a fixed lot of 40, even if your demand was 10. And if there was fourth week, then it would have created 10 40 again. Why? Because you need 50, you got only 40, so 10 demand to abhi bhi unfulfilled hai, so it would create one additional 40. If the fixed lot size of 30, okay, then in the first week it would create 30. 30 में से 20 कंज्यूम हो गया, 10 बचा. So that 10 excess cannot fulfill the 20 demand, so it would again create a 30 next day. So this 30 30 60, and then you're left with 20 again, correct here, because out of this 30 20 are consumed. So that 20 cannot fulfill 50 demand, so it would again create a 30 here, correct. So that way your total demand of 90 can be fulfilled with 30 30 33 is a 90, correct. If you apply a rounding value of 45, okay, no minimums, for example, then it would always create the plan order in terms of rounded value. So it would create the 45 here for the 20. So this 45 can fulfill this 20 plus 20, like फिर भी 5 remaining. That 5 cannot fulfill 50, so it would again create a 45 demand. And if there is a periodic lot size, so आपने decide किया that for the entire month I'll go to produce only once, so it will create one plan order for all the demands of that month, total 90, right? This plays an important role because usually production planning is done with this way. Usually lot for lot nobody would do. People would go for minimums and roundings and so on, because packaging is actually, if you have seen any shop floor, if you haven't seen, and now you are getting into production planning, okay, you're going to be a production planning detail scheduling consultant. So on the weekend, go and watch some of the manufacturing videos on YouTube. How there are some how it's made sort of videos that on that channel. So that would explain you that how raw material comes and how the production happens and how the packaging happens. So you will know what a pallet is. The packaging has to be in a particular boxes. So that time the number of quantities play an important role. Then there is storage and there is limited storage space and so on. Okay, fine. So any question? Or it is, if it is going fast, let me know. We will avoid going through some sections, but whatever we cover, we'll try to cover them in a way you are understanding. So very frankly, give me this feedback if it is going faster for you to understand. There is no harm in skipping one thing but understanding another thing in detail, because with the PPDS training, the Pandora's box is opening for you. So it means that you don't know everything inside, but you know how to find it at least, right? इसका meaning क्या है, how to use, and so on. So you can very easily do that later on. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody has a question, so I will ask this surprise question, surprise test. Okay. If you have questions, still you have a chance now. All right, and then we'll quickly cover the last tab of PPDS. I mean, this is the tab for which we are doing this thing, but all these things play a backend role, and this is the forward part for us. Correct. So there is something called as planning procedure on PPDS tab. Okay, planning procedure has a particular configuration behind it. It actually governs that on the product. If I make any kind of change, then what happens? Because PPDS is usually the short-term planning thing, right? In the short-term planning, you cannot wait for the weekend, right? Again, going to this diagram, the long-term planning is happening per week or sometimes per month. You're not doing this planning, long-term planning per day, correct? Because the previous engines are not supporting. Now with IBP, it has started supporting doing the planning every day also. But still, the long-term planning is rough cut. But then while you are here in the short-term horizon, right? You have to every day you have to consider the changes in demand and supply. So you have to run it every day. At times you may want to run it 4 to 5 times in a day, depending upon your criticality of the situation. Okay. So for that purpose, what SAP has given us is this PP planning procedure. If we should go to the SPRO and understand how the PP planning procedure is. Let me see, double clicking does not take me there. So it has, the planning procedure has got some sort of triggers. Okay. What happens if I just enter a new sales order? What happens if I change the quantity on the plan order? So some sort of triggers are there. And for each trigger, what should be the action that is given? Okay, so usually this planning procedure 2 or 4 is used where for every change in the demand, okay, you have to trigger a production planning run in the backend that is given. Okay, so then all the time your production plan is perfect, right? So for example, we are using this 4, right? So 4 has reaction to events. So there are multiple events. So when a purchase requisition is created in OLTP system, OLTP is the execution system, your ECC or S4 system, then what happens? It is not relevant. But when a plan order is created in PPDS, it would automatically get scheduled. Okay. When a plan order is changed within OLTP system, it should automatically get scheduled. So the backend scheduling plays a role. You could have said that, okay, do a scheduling, you deallocated that plan order or whatnot. So we'll see what these terminologies mean. But for now, do we have any other event which says that do a planning? Yeah. So see, if you expand the number of events, you change the product master in APO, what happens? You change the T lane in APO, what happens? So there are actions based on every event that is in. Not that you will have to create the planning procedure on your own anytime in your career, but you should know what does it mean. So see, most of the planning procedure for that we are used, they are mostly related to scheduling. Okay, you're doing a scheduling of the automated created orders. So whenever the order gets created, you would do a automatic scheduling. For our context, we are just doing a planning based on the plan. So we need not to extend this planning procedure to multiple other echelons of the network, right? But at least you should know the main importance of the planning procedure, that it is the collection of events and the triggers that it would govern based on any change of master and transactional data in PPDS for PPDS. Yeah. Another important thing here is the product heuristic. Okay, other parts you do F1 and they are not so important, so skipping it here. But the product heuristic is important here, is because if you want, whenever change happens, if you want to automatically trigger a heuristic, then what is that heuristic that you can specify here? But more of it is coming in the planning section. I have to revisit it here anyway. Okay. Okay, the plan explosion, this again comes from S4 side. So 5 means it is based on the PDS that is generated from R3. There are some other settings also, you can do a customization here and so on, but most of the times you will only use the PDS based on explosion. Do you know what explosion is? When I say explode the bomb or PDS explosion, what does it mean? Anybody knows about it? Yes, Wasim Ali, you're unmuted. Please say it.
No, sir. No, I don't know.
You unmuted to say no. Okay. See,
I think
explosion.
reading of the master data, I mean, once it has been.
Absolutely, yes. So see, in short, this is my bomb material, right? So this material has these two components, and there will be some operations, correct? So that is the bomb, and we have to create it now. But once we explode the demand for this material, sorry, when we run the planning for this material, it would find out the explosion bomb and it would just create raw material requirements. So that's what we call as explosion, right? So basically explosion is, I mean, take it literally. Once you explode something, it would bring out all the components out of it outside, right? So that's what happens in the explosion. And we say 5 is the strategy for that. Okay. Then we have actually, um, these horizons are important again. I don't know if uh, I have one request, that the feedback form that is shared with you, just keep giving the feedback, because I just don't want to run over the topics anytime unless you are understanding to the depth. I'm very happy to skip a tab and just explain one tab, spend more time over there, because the better you understand, the better is your opportunity to explore other parts of it later on your own. So use that. If you can talk here, that's fine. Okay, so that I know the improvisation next. Okay, so before I go on, I just want to very quickly talk about these horizons that are here. Okay, opening period. Okay, so this opening period, whatever you specify here, is the period by which, before which the order should be converted from plan order to uh, production order. Okay, so what does it mean is, say your production order is starting somewhere by this example, it is somewhere starting in week 4, okay, and ending in week 4 only. And you have specified opening period of 2 weeks. It means that this week 4, whenever it is here in week 3, so I am here in week 0 or week 1. So before 2 weeks, it should be converted to production order. So before it enters into this PPDS horizon, it should be converted to production order. So if you specify 2 weeks, then it would be automatically converted. Why? Because if you put some kind of tab on top of it that, okay, I will do the conversion myself, that no planner is so efficient that he would always go in and do it. Sometimes there are cases where the planners would do the conversion on their own. Okay, but we have a dedicated section called firming. So when we create an order, we will talk about it there. Okay, again, but for you, it is important to know there is something called as this order opening period. Okay, and if you press F1, there is for the opening period, they have given a formula also to calculation. It's such a beautiful formula. I cannot restrict from explaining it. What it means is consider a case of plan order. Okay, so the plan order start date minus opening period is the opening date for it. You got this? Consider example, if your plan order is starting somewhere in 2 weeks down the line and my opening period is 2 weeks, then I have to convert it by this date. So this is an indication. There could be an alert also that, okay, this order has passed beyond the opening date, but it is not converted yet. Okay. See, by conversion, I mean only one thing. You have plan in this horizon. Okay. The moment you convert the plan, okay, conversion means the plan order is converted to a fixed plan order and then to a production order, or purchase requisition is converted to a fixed purchase requisition and then to a purchase order. So this is called conversion. So there is a step of firming in between. You have a plan order, you firm it, and then it gets converted. So 3 steps. So the moment either you apply a firming indicator or you convert it to a production order, the planning tool, that MRP, IBP, SNP, none of them can see it. Nobody can change it anymore. Okay. I mean, you are able to follow me, right? You guys are not talking at all anyway, anything today. So I feel like talking in dark. So the
Yes.
moment you firm it, convert it, no planning tool can change it. And firming means, okay, I'm pretty sure I'm going to produce it. So that is why these production planners, when they are in week 3, 4, 5, 6, they do planning here, and as soon as the order enters in 4 week, they would do the firming, and the firmed order automatically goes to S4 and gets converted to production order. So nobody then changes here. Okay, that's how it is.
Anil, since this firming word is like cropping up again and again, can you explain a bit?
Hmm.
Firming
I
term.
have actually, if you see
Yeah,
the
that in the curriculum, right? I know. Just in a on a brief thing.
see, I mean, I have to have an example in front of me, so I have to create a first plan order and show you practically. Then it would
Oh,
be clear.
okay.
Yeah, but still, since you asked the
I mean,
question, there,
fundamentally, yeah.
yes, fundamentally. So see, first of all, you create a plan order. Now, only talking from a planning perspective, okay, and there can be a purchase requisition from a procurement perspective. So this is production, okay, and this is procurement. Fine. Are you with me here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So when this is the first stage, this plan order creation happens based on the forecast we have seen in the last section, right? Plan order creation happens based on forecast. So you created a plan order here. Subsequently, you have to convert this plan order to firm plan order. Why? Because at some point in time during your horizons, you would say that, okay, now whatever is the quantity of the plan order, I am not going to change it anymore. I am sure I'm going to produce it. So you firm that from PPDS, okay, especially talking from PPDS side. So you firm that there are some options available where you can firm. See, PPDS can never convert a plan order to a production order on its own. PPDS is not an execution tool. Execution always happens in S4 or ECC. That is why PPDS can only apply firming. And that firming comes via this sort of settings where you say opening period of 2 weeks. It means that the order before starting, the start date before the firming period, firming period before the start date of that order, it would automatically get firmed within PPDS. So if you apply 2 weeks of firming opening period to that, then it would get firmed. So this firmed order goes to S4. So when I say firmed order, it means it changes it ATP category. There is some sort of firming indicator on the order gets applied, so that firming indicator goes to S4 on top. I will show you how does it look like. But when it goes to S4, then they run the production schedulers or all those guys, they run the PP guys, core PP guys, they run some jobs. The jobs would pick up all the orders which are firmed and they would convert it into production order. Okay. So this happens in S4. Okay. This happens in PPDS and this happens in PPDS likewise in context of this meeting. This can happen in not only PPDS, but IBP also, right? Anywhere you can create, but the firming happens within PPDS. Okay. And then
Okay.
S4 production order. So this is a typical life cycle of a plan order. Okay. And that's what I'm talking here, opening period. Now what happens is planning tool keeps changing the plan order based on your forecast. So if your forecast changes or if you suddenly get a sales order, it would keep changing the plan order. But when the order is firmed, even if your forecast changes or your sales order changes, nothing happens. This firm means it's a firm plan. You cannot change it anymore via the planning tool. And production order, of course, it is a super firmed order, so nobody changes it later. So that's the significance of opening period. Then we have something called as PPDS planning time frames. So say if you have a scenario where you are not doing auto firming, okay, consider this example. You are not doing a auto firming on the orders based on opening period, okay, but you still for this 4 weeks you don't want the planning engine to change any orders in this period. Whatever is there, it would remain as it is, and then as per the production planner's convenience, he would apply the firming on his own. So in that case, what you would do is from week 1 to week 6, you will apply something called as PPDS planning time frames. So it is like 6 weeks. It can be applied per location product. So if you say 6 weeks here, so in this period, in week 3 to week 6 also, or rather from here to here, there will be plan orders. Okay, normal plan orders. But these plan orders, but whenever the planning tool is running SNP, IBP or whatnot, it will not do anything on that. That is a frozen period for the planning engine. So this is a PPDS planning time phase. No changes happen on the order. So this works in, you know, conjunction with each other. Either you use opening period, auto firm them, or if you don't want to auto firm, you can use this. Because what happens is if you auto firm some orders and the job is running on S4, which is automatically converted to production orders, then you lose your capability of making some changes from the production planning side. So you do not perhaps want to do auto firming, or you maybe want to apply just 1 week of auto firming, and for the next 2 weeks you still don't want the planning engine to change the order. You want your self control, but that's how it is, right? So you would keep 3 weeks of planning time frames and 1 week of opening period. Got it? And in context of this example, it would be from week 1 week to week 3. So considering 3 weeks of opening period, for example, here, so orders coming in week 3 would get auto confirm. So all the orders in week 3 would be auto confirm, but planning time frames would go up to week 6. So none of the order would be auto confirmed here, auto firmed here, but they will not be changed by the planning engine. They would just remain, and only the production planner can change the quantity. Correct. So that's a major difference between opening period and planning time frames. Okay. I hope it's clear. If not, let me know. I would advise you to look at the recording later. In today's session, actually, we are covering multiple conceptual things. So it would be at most necessary for you to repeat this session again later. Okay, whenever the recording is available. Trust me, these concepts, once clear in your mind, they are technology agnostic actually. They are not only for SAP, but they are universally true across everything that comes under supply chain planning. Okay.
Fine.
There are right. There are two more horizons here: adjustment horizon and requirement ascertain horizon. So basically, in a nutshell, this is related to make to order scenario where if you put up some sort of horizon here, then the system, while converting the orders from plan order to production order, will only convert those orders which have a sales order associated with it. Because we have seen we create orders for both sales orders and forecast, correct? We have seen we create orders for both forecast as well as sales order, plan orders. But then while the order gets converted to production order, it should only get converted if it has a sales order against it. I mean, this again comes back to that topic that customers actually are very apprehensive about forecast accuracy. So in the initial days, they don't want to convert or produce anything against the forecast. So they would put some horizon here that for first 2 weeks or 3 weeks, only sales order related orders should be converted to forecast and so on. So that's the thing. But something to be explored in detail later for you. Okay. We have some settings like procurement. So procurement type decides whether it is an in-house production product or it is the external procurement. For us, it has to be in-house, correct? So this thing helps if you set X, which is both external and in-house, it means that the order, the plant can procure it from vendor or it can produce it internally. So all the plant materials which are produced there should have E as a in-house production. This is important. Okay. I mean, these are core concepts. For the distribution centers, it is always F because it does not produce, it just procures it from outside. So technical keywords I've been talking from yesterday, keep noting them down and then using them. Procurement, production, distribution, right? All those things. And there are not many. If you get used to them after this training session, then you will have the lasting impact on whoever you are talking to. Then we have GI processing time. So after transportation or after production, it sometimes needs one additional day to cool down or packaging or quality inspection and so on. So people generally put it here. So after production, if you need goods receipt processing time, which is 1 day to quality inspect, they would put 1 day here on S4. So if 2 weeks it takes, it would take 2 weeks and 1 day additional day to actually let the material be available. Okay. So set up the basic scheduling part first, and then we will go on increasing these GR related things. There is one additional complication which is called handling thing, right? So but okay, let me not confuse you there. We'll talk after the basic scheduling is done. Okay, and then do we have any other tab? No, extra tab is whatever extra you can think of, doesn't matter. So this way we completed or we have gone through the important sections of a material master. Product master that we call in APO, APO or PPDS. Okay, fine. So we have covered again this part that we have location, material, raw material part. It all comes under material master. Now we will set up two resources. We decided to create a recipe routing later, right? We'll create two resources so that we can use it later. Then we will create a BOM so that we can use these raw materials, and ultimately we will create a production version later. Okay. Are you guys with me? Yeah. Okay, fine. Now, next step is we will go and we will create them resources. Okay. So Kshitiz, I also explored if there is any difference between resource and work center. So technically, both of them are accessible via same transaction. Same table in the backend, get stored in the same table. So only thing that I can conclude is work center was passed. Resource is the next because resource has more types of categorization. So I think SAP, instead of using the old version, they just enhancing the old version, they just created a new one so that they can call it same way. When the ERP came, that used to be work center concept, but later on APO came, they started calling it resource in APO. So just to make it in sync, the new version came up like APO only, right? Since all of you guys are pretty new, actually you may not know. Now we are talking about something called as PDS, right? You would have seen that production data structure in APO. But around 2008, 10, 12, SAP brought in, it used to be PPM, okay, production process model. And then because there were some limitations in the PPM, they brought the PDS concept. And at the same time, they brought this resource concept, correct? So that is just something beyond the explanation that is there. I mean, that's a fact. You can't deny it. So let us create then resources. Okay. So the transaction to create resources is CR C1, I guess, or CR. Yeah, CR C1. Okay. First of all, Jyotsna, please explain us what is a resource as per your understanding, what it could be in layman's language.
It can be a person or it can be a machine as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. And it is something where you get some operation done, right?
Correct. Yes.
There is some processing happening. Correct. So now I'll try to be as simple as possible in this way, also not very complicating. So I'm going to create, I have component called raw mat 1, raw mat 2. This is the finished good. Now I will say that I have to go and do two operations on the two different resources. So I'll create what should be the name? Okay, resource 1 and resource 2. I'll take the privilege to take the better name myself. RES 1. Okay, and let us create it of resource category processing unit. Yeah, enter. Okay, so resource 1 for PPDS training July 23. Okay, fine. Person responsible, let me give some name. Usually this person responsible is important in a way that this becomes a planner in PPDS. Okay, and we will see that when we go to the scheduling board. So you have to actually create exact same name as this to PPDS so that you can load all the resources which belong to me. So it will be a real name of a person, a production scheduler. So he need not to then load his resources and his plan. He just need to load everything that belongs to the person responsible of his name, right? So this is a master data that needs to be created. Okay, I might create ANIL, something like that, or ANI, something for me. And then this gets transferred also to the resource in PPDS and filter. Okay, then let us find the usage. We'll just set up the important thing. So yeah, this resource can be used only for routing or can be used for recipe or rate routing. So there are multiple types of those structures, right? The way the operations can be put up. Just like routing and recipe can be used for type of industry, right? Variable per industry. But then what I would say is I will make it for all task list types. So I'll just say 0009. So I can use this resource in the routing also and recipe also and whatnot. Okay. Standard value key is something that the resource would need, correct? So let me select one of the standard, maybe normal production, enter. So the moment I press enter, it just loaded that the resource would need setup time, machine time, labor time. So the various values that you need. Okay. How it is different is this resource would be used to manufacture something. So if I say machine time and labor time, that would be depending upon the quantity, correct? That for 100 quantity, I need so much machine time and so much labor time. But the setup time may be once only, correct? Once you start the resource, it would be irrespective of the quantity, correct? Setup is like you make the resource ready. So it's not depending on quantity. So those things need to be governed here. Then let's go to default values. So control key is already selected setup machine. And let's go to capacity. This is important. Okay. So practically, the thing that you see into PPDS is actually capacity, not the resource. The more the capacities you create here, the more number of resources that would get created in PPDS. Okay, because we do the capacity planning there. We don't do a resource planning in PPDS. So now for time being, I will select one which is say 0008 processing unit capacity. Okay, enter. So the moment I pressed enter, it brought into the capacity screen. See capacity header screen. So capacity for resource 1. So what we do here is capacity responsible again 0001. So I would know what type of capacity it is as SAP example. So this is again an identifier on PPDS side. So I don't know what is the factory calendar here. This is 1010. Okay. So for time being, I'll just say standard collector of Germany. I don't know many details here. Active version is 01 always. Normal available. See, you can have multiple versions of capacity within PPDS. Okay. And you might want to use one version or want to use another version. So you can, for simulation sort of thing, you can keep maintaining multiple capacities. So the default capacity that goes in the active one is 01, right? We'll see that while we are into PPDS. Okay. Base unit is hour. I'm going to maintain it in hour. How much time I'm available from 00 to say 23 hours I'm available. I have a length of break of 1 hour. Okay. Capacity utilization is 100% and number of capacities is 1%. So just press enter. So just the moment I press enter, it got saved. Everything is in and I am back at the capacity category type. Okay. Here I need to specify a formula also. There are various formulas that is usually done by the PP guys, but I am going to select the machine time related formula because how the machine time should be calculated. And I'll explain about it. Okay. Enter and it needs something default. Fine. Fine. So I entered the formula. Okay. Then go to the scheduling tab and assign the categorization. Otherwise, the resource is not usable. So I'll again use the processing unit. Okay. And I need to assign a formula here. Let me see if there is, yeah, formula is assigned. Fine. And the costing and grouping related things are different, right? We are not, I mean, see, the routing has multiple resources. So every operation, how much the cost for producing that operation there, that has to be calculated. So that is a costing related thing. So we're not going in that costing detail for now. Okay. I assign all the basic things. Fine. And let me save it. Fine. So my resource got saved. Now I'll go and explain what did I do. So let me go to CRC3 resource 1. Okay. The default values are here, so those I need to fill up and so on. But most important part is come down to capacities. Okay, in capacities, go to the capacity category, double clicking here. So what it has calculated for me is this resource is available from 0 to 23 hours with 1 hour of break, correct? So total operating time is 20 to 98. Okay, how is it like 20 to 98 is almost 23 hours, right? I have to go in the change mode actually. Then we can try out things here. Okay. So how did it calculate this 20 to 98%? What if I just say 10% of availability? Then it calculated 2 hours and 30 minutes is my available capacity. Because what are we telling him that from 00 to 2300 hours, this resource is available. Okay. For timing, let me make it simplicity purpose 100 hours. Okay. So what I'm telling this guy is this resource in totality is available for 2400 hours. Okay. And 1 hour of break is there in between. So the total operating time with 10% efficiency is 24 hours. If I make it 100% efficiency, then this resource is available for 2398. This is little strange. Is there anything that is making this 0.02% gap? Is it the setup time or so? We need to check that later. But when I'm saying 2400, 24 hours availability, it is just giving me capacity of 2398. Perhaps it is some approximation in the backend. We need to find that out. Okay. Few concepts here. This decides the total availability of the resource. I told you about the rough cut capacity planning concept somewhere, correct? So that efficiency is managed here, right? I told you that the long-term planning would operate based on 90, 95, even if the resource is available 100%. So that gives us a margin of error, right? When it actually enters in the production scheduling, we have that 5% margin of error. So this is what we call as the efficiency or the rough cut capacity planning. For now, I will use 100%. This efficiency is managed. This 100 to 95% conversion happens when the resource gets transferred to the rough cut capacity planning engine. Say you're sending this to IBP or SNP, we would do that in the integration part, that we would just reduce the capacity by a certain number of percentages. Okay. At the bottom, we have got some settings. So if you say relevant for finite scheduling, this resource becomes finite. In SNP, the resource can be of finite or infinite, both types, correct? If you do not set this, the resource capacity will not have any impact. You can produce any quantity that you want on any day, right? And for heuristic, usually this is good enough, right? Because heuristic, the planning heuristic, it is doing the finite level planning. But for scheduling purpose, we need a finite scheduling related resource. Can be used by several operations. So in SNP, have you seen single resource, multi-resource concept? Anybody has seen that during any of his project and any of the ticket? Never mind. See, can be used by several operations you set up for resources which can accommodate multiple plan orders at a time on them. So biggest example is say oven. In a manufacturing setup, if there is a oven, so the oven has got say 1000 cubic meters capacity. Now you can put one orders 10,000 quantity or 10 orders 10,000 because the oven, industrial ovens are so big that it can accommodate multiple orders at a time. And you would like to do that, correct? Why? Because you don't want to heat the oven to higher temperature only for one order, 10 orders. So such resources, when you create, you flag this as it can be used by several operations. So when it gets transferred to SNP for PPDS, I think PPDS multi-resource, it is there. Sorry. So it gets transferred as multi-resource, not single resource. So there is a type of resource on PPDS side that identifies it. So if it is a multi-resource, the engine knows that I can put multiple orders at a time, and then it would schedule those orders parallel to each other at the same time on that operation, on that resource, right? Long-term planning. So this is not relevant now from S4 HANA perspective, S4 HANA PPDS. But if it was a SNP based scenario, ECC SNP, then you had to flag that. So it means that the resource would be created for even SNP type in the long-term planning, where the bucket, the resource capacity is available per day, not up to hour. See, I told you one thing. I don't know if you remember this part, that the capacity that is available in this duration for the long-term planning, or the master data that is available in the long-term planning and master data for scheduling, the detailed planning, is different. Okay, for that matter, even between week 1 to week 6 could be different. Okay, because here you're already doing the production planning with the detailed manner. So that difference comes from here. If you say long-term planning, then the resource is available for SNP. It will have information at bigger level, right? It will have information at day level, not up to the second level. But if you do not flag that the resource is available for PPDS by default, and it would get information per hour level, then and then the scheduling can happen at that level. So technically something happens in the backend where the technical partitions get created per second per that minor granular level if you flag it that way. Okay. You can do multiple resources grouped together. There is a concept of pool capacity, which we are not right now trying, but for your information, pool capacity is like shared capacity. So if you say I have got a drill machine, no, not drill machine. I have got 5 electricians on my shop floor. Okay. So once you assign that electrician for one particular operation, you might need 2 electrician, 3 electrician, or you might need one only, and so on. So it is like you don't need to create 5 different electricians in the system. You might want to create a pool of that electrician capacity, correct? That I have got 24 into 5, 120 hours of pool capacity available for electrician. And if you flag that, then it would just pick up, one order would pick up 12 hours from this capacity. So that can be 1.5 electrician. Okay, something like that. So it's like creating a pool of resources. Okay, so that you do not allocate one single quantity there. Correct. This can also be achieved with the help of number of individual capacities. So for example, you created one resource one. Okay, this is the lathe machine. 24 hours it is available, but you have got 5 lathe machines on the shop floor. Correct. They are not pool of each other. They can be individually used. Okay. So you cannot use 1.5 lathe machine, but you just have to flag 5 number of available capacity. It means that one order you can split on the 5 lathe machines and get the work done faster. Correct. It's possible. It's like creating the number of capacities available for that resource at the same time. Right. Okay. We have to experiment around it to understand it in a much better way. For now, listen to the recordings, and then we can discuss further more when we use this resource for scheduling. I have to tell you one other important concept in the resource. So under capacities, I assign this formula, correct? This formula is important from the perspective of calculating the time required to produce a particular product on this resource. Okay, so if you scroll down, select the formula and say display formula. So this is the backend. This is a out of the box coming from SAP. Very rarely we need to modify. But what it says is consider the machine capacity multiplied by total operation quantity divided by base quantity divided by number of operations that you are going to parallelly perform. So it would just come up with some sort of total duration required to produce. How it is? So let's close it and let's test it. Okay. Select the formula and here's test the formula. Okay. Now, as per the formula, say I need to produce how much 2400 quantity, or let's make it simple, 1000 quantity. Base quantity is 10. Okay. And I need machine time of 1 hour to produce base quantity of 10. You're following me, right? So you have a base quantity of 10,000. You have machine hour. This is hour, right? This is hour. Yeah. So what it means is if you want to
Hello,
produce, yeah,
Anil, sorry to interrupt, but what is the base quantity and operation quantity?
yeah. So basically, for this resource, if you want to produce base quantity of 10,000, then you need 1 hour. So actually the standard value always refers to the time required to base quantity. Here, we define something, just a moment. We went to default values, right? We selected, sorry, basic data. We selected the standard value key, correct? And as soon as we selected that, it loaded this setup machine and labor. It means that for this resource, you can define all these 3 times or one of the 3 times, anything that you define, correct? Now, once we want to test the formula, and this is how even the planning engine will test the formula, then we have to tell them that, okay, I want to produce 10 base quantity. So the machine would require 1 hour. Okay. So it is as simple as 10 base quantity, 1 hour. Then if my requirement is 2400 base quantity, operation quantity, then how much time it would need? That's what I want to ask. Correct. So it is just mathematical calculation. So in this case, 1 hour is required to 10 quantity. Then how much time would be required to produce 2400 quantity?
Okay,
Any
got it.
guess?
So the operation quantity would be the amount of the product that we want from the resource.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And the
So
base quantity is how much a resource can produce in an hour or
in
something based on the standard
exactly.
values that we maintain. Okay.
Exactly. So
Got it.
sometimes you define it in 24 hours, some quantity,
Mm,
right? But I am defining
mm.
at the base level. It depends. But now do the
Okay.
calculation. 1 hour is required to produce 10 quantity. Then how many hours would be required to produce 2400 quantity?
24 hours.
24 hours.
Uh, no,
Again, think about it. Yeah,
240 hours.
240. So let's do the calculation. Here is the button. So the calculation says fill up all the required fields. So what is missing here? Acha, operation quantity in terms of some unit. Okay, kg or so. So whatever is the base unit. Okay. I mean, this is tricky again because generally the base quantity and machine time is set up in terms of base unit, right? But you might want to specify different unit for this quantity. So it does the quantity conversion in the other unit and does the calculation. Could be. But what is the base unit in this case? I think it should be kg only. Let's see that later. But let's calculate. Yeah. So it calculated requirement internal processing. It would need 240 hours, right? Got
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Now, why this is important is because we are doing a scheduling, right? We are going to use this resource for scheduling. So if I have got 2400 quantity, I should know that what time it will start, what time it will end. It is not a weekly or daily level, right? That, okay, someday it will start, someday it will end. No, this is precisely to the second level, correct? Because while we do the operation scheduling, it starts at 2:40 p.m. and ends at 6:40 p.m. and so on. So it is exactly with those hours and seconds. So that's how it is. I'll do one change here. So say number of employees is one and number of splits. So if I split that operation into two, okay. So if there are two resources or if I am doing parallelly two operations, so I'll just do two splitting. Okay. Then the total amount required should be half. So it now needs 120 hours only. Correct. That's how it is. So the number of splits of the operations can be tested. And in real life, it happens. Now probably apply some setup times of 10 hours. Okay, let's see. I don't know if calculation would come. Let it keep like this only. Okay, so as per the original calculation, we would need 240 hours to produce 2400 quantity, but now I will need 10 hours of setup time. So the time required is still 240. Why? Acha, it will, this is the operation processing time. Sorry, the 240, the 10 hours would be on top of it, actually outside shown. Ideally, I would have expected this setup time of 10 hours to be added actually. Why doesn't it show? We need to find out later. 10. Uh, isn't that formula include the setup times and all? Did we see the formula? We have operation quantity, base quantity, operation splits only, and machine time only. Okay, so this formula is not considering the setup times. You see, only machine times is what it's considering. Let's see if we have another formula which can consider the setup times also. Hey, I've chosen the production machine times only. So I have to add additional formula to the capacity. This is the processing unit only, right? So I have to add another capacity another formula to the setup time and labor time and apply that. So there is no formula which can consider all of them together, it looks like, from the standard. Can I do that here? I can create something. I can create a new capacity and apply the because this all belongs to the same resource, so it would get cumulatively added to each other, right? So just we will not test it, but I'll just check the formula that is there in the setup time, whether it is quantity based or it is uh, just a fixed time, correct? Because I would expect that machine time should be a fixed time, not a quantity based. So see, setup is equivalent to setup, no quantity and base quantity calculations at all here, right? So whatever setup you apply, that would get applied only once, right? Fine, you got that? It's clear?
Yes,
Resource
sir.
setup.
Yes.
All right. So now I have saved it, right? I have saved it. So I am going to copy this resource and create another resource because I have decided to have two resources, correct? So let us go to CRC1 and copy from. So this is RES2, copy from, because I don't want to spend time in setting up everything again together. Still, it will ask me to set up something. So copy RES2 from RES1. You can use my resource because you can specify plant while you create your own resources. Okay. And I'm going to copy all these things, default values also, capacities also, and scheduling also. No costing, by the way. I never maintained it. So let us copy it. Fine. Control key is fine. Capacities is fine. Okay. Everything is maintained. Only thing here is I'll just make it 90% for the other resource. Okay. And it's good. This I need to see whether the scheduling part is copied because otherwise the resource is not available for PDS. CRC2. Let's go to scheduling. Yeah, see, it is not. Okay. And I think the formula, I mean, I've seen some error sometime that it does not, but we'll see that in case it doesn't get transferred. But make sure that you are doing the scheduling capacity assignment as well. Okay. Fine. So now we created two resources. Fine. Where are we now? In this case is we still have 30 minutes, right? Yeah. So we created this resource one and resource two. Next step is to transfer these resources to PPDS. Correct. So how do we do that? Again, not by our integration models, but if you are working in APO world, you have to again go in CFM1, create the integration model, generate, activate, and blah blah. But here I will simply go to CRC2 transaction. I was there. Go to resource one and simply say advanced planning. That's it and save. Boom. It's now sent to PPDS. Okay, so let me check the transaction code is still same. RES01 slash SAP APO slash RES01 is the transaction to check resource in PPDS. Okay. So 1010 and let me see if what are the resources there. I don't know the naming. Yeah, so some people have in old ages done that, but I have got these two resources, right? One is dependent on planning version and one is non-planning version. This happens all the time. So the naming that it has applied is W to represent work center based resource, even if it is a resource based resource, right? Resource or work center as a master data, but this is how the standard integration has been set up to always apply W in the beginning, then the name of the resource, followed by plant, followed by the capacity that you have created on the resource. You remember on the resource, inside the capacity, you created processing unit type of capacity. If you would have created a labor 0001 machine, whatnot, different type of capacity, that would come here. That's an indication of how the resource is, why the resource is. Okay. So this resource is created. Now for the sake of checking, I'll see if the area 02 is also there and see. So it's not there yet because I haven't set that up, correct? So let me just transfer that resource also. Okay, and now I should have RES02. It is very quick. See, it's faster than the fastest. Okay, so I've got a resource. You see on top, we have single and multi thing. I did not click can be used by multiple operations. So it came as a single resource. If I would have clicked there, then it would have come as a multi resource. Calendar and production line are separate types of resources. Okay, so we got the resource here, correct? We got the category of the resource. It's a production type. we got location, time zone, it's selected from the calendar that we assigned it, Germany calendar, correct? And the total duration it is available, 1 hour of break. This is 1 hour, right? Or 1 minute. Hey guys, you didn't tell me this is not hour. That's why it was saying 23.98. Come on, you guys are not paying attention. See, this is not hour. That is why. And see now, let me
We
make it
also didn't
100%.
notice. Anil.
Yeah, see now it is 23, correct? 1 hour is reduced. And
Yes.
say we, okay, so let it be 90 only. Fine. And 1 minute break cannot be the real break, right?
Correct.
Okay, fine. So now just go back and display again. So now it has become this 1 hour of break duration, utilization rate 90% and whatnot, correct? So this is the 90%. So the production time in a day is only 20 hours, 70 minutes available, correct? Fine. On the resource, there are some things like you select the resource, you go to the capacity profile of it, correct? And you should be able to see the availability of the resource based on the calendar. So see, this is the capacity variant. 01 is the default variant that is assigned by us there, right? This 01, correct? On the S4 side, you could have created 02, 03, or you can made it here in APO directly by going in the change mode or PPDS. But for now, let us stick to the capacity variant 01. It is the active variant for the capacity storage. It is showing us the availability. So see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday only. Only 5 days this resource is available. Saturday, Sunday are gone. How it is? We never specified. Can anybody tell me where the Saturday, Sundays are gone here? Why? See, for Monday, it is available. On this day, it is available for 24 hours, then 1 hour break. So total available capacity is 20 hours because the utilization is the rate is 90%. And it is only one single resource. That's why one capacity. But where are the Saturday, Sundays? Where did I specify that don't consider Saturday, Sundays?
Maybe in the calendar assigned.
Exactly. So you
The
saw last,
downtimes.
not downtimes yet, calendar. See, the factory calendar we
Okay,
assigned is
factory.
01.
Factory
Correct.
calendar.
Correct. So if you go to this
That should
transaction called
be a
YesCal,
5 days then. Yeah.
exactly. So let's go to YesCal or calendar, some transaction. Yeah, YesCal,
Yes,
and go to the factory calendar, display it, go to 01 and go to the definitions of it. You will have just Monday to Friday as working days, Saturday, Sunday, public holidays, you are not working. These are Germans, right? This is Germany. Germans are very strict about their working days, correct? So that's why the capacity hasn't been generated for those many hours, correct? So these are some basic settings that are available. One thing that you said is about downtime. So I should mention, especially this is useful for production planning and detailed scheduling because there could be a machine breakdown suddenly. Correct. आप लोग कहाँ बैठे हो? We are sitting today, but you are already seeing that the machine has broken down and there is no chance of fixing the machine before next 3 weeks. Correct. So in this diagram, you are sitting down today, machine broke down in the week 1. You want to fix it, but it would take at least 3 more weeks. So you have to not schedule anything on that machine for next 3 weeks. Correct. Schedule I'm talking now about. Slowly we are entering from planning to scheduling side. Okay. So if there are any plan orders or all production orders here, you have to push them to week 4, 5 because you cannot do any scheduling here. So you just have to come down here, put valid from today to valid till that day from timing and type of downtime. You need to select it is a planned or unplanned. So it is like a unplanned downtime because broken down. So put resources inactive, give some description and boom. Next time the scheduling algorithm is run, it would just push out all the orders outside. Correct. And it happens. There could be a planned downtimes also. What does it mean? Is say Christmas time. Okay, entire Europe, because this is a German factory now, right? So entire Europe is off during December, correct? December last 2 weeks. So you would already insert planned downtime for last 2 weeks of Germany. So even if it is some setting somewhere here, I'm sitting today, and it would be somewhere like month 12, right? December mein aata hai na Christmas. So I'll put it here. So no orders would be scheduled in this duration in the month 12 duration. No orders would be scheduled. So that is the beauty of downtime. So that is called planned downtimes. Correct. If the same resource is used for the planning engine also, Remember, I am now trying to use this resource for scheduling. Planning part, I'm using IBP or APO. Okay, but if you are using say PPDS only for planning, that time you might be using the same resource and then you include it. Correct? I told you about block planning. If you remember, I will explain you the block planning concept in the first week, because in the first session I was telling you the advantages of using PPDS. So block planning is one of them. Okay, what do we do in the block planning is for the product. Okay, let me go to the product. If you are at the product, there is a tab called classification here. Correct. So this classification is like, if you go to S4, there is also a classification tab. Under the classification, you create a class. Okay, if you are aware about the object oriented orientation concept, there are classes and objects under that. Something similar, not exactly same. But what you do is there are some different transactions. I don't want to divert a lot, but see um, I forgot how to create class and characteristics transaction. That is CT30, CT30, CT01, CT02, and so on. So explore if need be, but you create a class. Okay, so the class is like a placeholder for what are the characteristics of the product. So say you will say that product class. Okay, the product could be differentiated based on color, size, um, shine. These are three types of characterization of the product it can be identified with. So you will say that, okay, my product class is product underscore class. Okay, this is the name that you gave to the class. So you created the class. Under that class, there are three characteristics that you created. So this hierarchy is followed. This is a class and these are the characteristics. So what you would do is you will assign this class to the product master, and that would appear somewhere here under the classes. Okay. I mean, there are various types of classes that is beyond the scope, but that's why I'm not going in. But if the class is assigned to the product, it becomes a configurable product, right? You can design the product the way you want, color red and then size bigger and so on. So you assign the class on S4 side, the class also come down here, and then once the class is available here, you can assign a specific characteristic value, right? If it is a color, red color value, then 10 size, and shine is bright, something like that. Okay, so these are the values. Okay, values assigned to the characteristics. Fine. So there can be one single product, okay, but with various types of values possible. What I mean is, the if I assign a product class to the product, and if I have a color as a characteristic on top, it can have red, blue, yellow. So there could be various values that the product can have. Okay, all the possibilities. If it is size, then various sizes, and shine, then various shines. So all these values would be available to the product to be assigned. Now when you put a demand for that product, so that demand cannot be for all colors or all sizes. It can be only for red, 10, and bright. Okay, it can be only for these three values, because the customer would order that give me 10 size, red color, bright shining sort of product. Correct? The product has various possibilities. So what what would happen is, the product, once you assign the class, and the class has various characteristics and various values possibilities under that, the demand would come for one combination of the values specifically. Correct? So what you do under block planning is, you assign the same class here. Okay, same class that is assigned, and from that class you create a block. That block would mean that, okay, this resource would be reserved for red color 10 size shine type of demands. Okay, there could be the demands flowing could be of various types, but whenever for the same product, the 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 demand comes for a specific set of values of that characteristics, then only this resource can be used. So from January month till end of January, you create this block. Okay, now it will not allow because there is no correct class assigned and so on. But when it is done, you create here, then it would just create a block. So it means that in this diagram, for say week number 4, you created a block, then only for that specific characteristic based demands would be fulfilled or produced on this resource at the time. No other thing can be created. So it is kind of a reservation of the resource for some specific values. Very useful, very useful for high priority products. Okay, what it means is the scheduling. You can apply some prioritization, but you cannot apply a reservation. Okay, one classic example for that is same. You have a very inflammable product to be produced. You are a chemical manufacturer and you produce various types of chemicals, but one product is very much inflammable. To produce that product, you need to do a setup of all the machineries, secure the area, and that setup takes around 14 days. After you are done production, you again need to deassemble whatever you set up, so it would take additional 14 days. So you need 14 days to set up in and 14 days to set up out, right? 1 month. So you have same number of resources within the shop floor, but since you've already done setup for that inflammable product, you don't want any other product to be scheduled during that time on those resources. So you will simply create a block on that particular inflammable product related characteristics, correct? So that no scheduling engine would use it. Why? Because you cannot produce any other product. You have done a specific setup. However, individually on the resources, you are still able to do that, but you want to avoid doing that. So that's where this block planning concept comes into play. Okay. Are you with me?
Uh, Anil, how will the resource know that for a particular period it has to, produce
This
the other material?
so you create a block for a specific duration, right? So it's like
Okay.
this.
Can we also
Huh?
maintain a duration while we create a block?
Yeah. You create
Okay.
a block for a specific duration. That's the beauty of it, right? Otherwise, it's
Okay.
it's
Okay.
dangerous, correct?
Yeah. Okay.
So
Thank you.
main pivot is the class, right? This class you assign.
Mm.
See this. Say for example, this is a material which has a class which has color and which has got two different set of values. For example, okay,
Mm.
blue 20 size and less bright. Okay, this is it.
Oh,
Now this same class you assign to the resource. Okay, and you create a block on the resource for only these three sizes. Okay, three characteristic values. Okay, for January. So
okay.
the demand should be coming for these products as well as these products. But while the scheduling happens, the resource would see I have a block of January only for these three. So whenever the demand and the resource block characteristic match, it would just produce that for January. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Got it.
yeah. As a concept, remember it is not, I mean, it would need dedicated 2-3 sessions to set up all the block planning and all. So not that frequently used, but if you know it as a concept, whenever time comes, whenever your customer says, I want reservation sort of block sort of planning, then you can very well explore that and implement it. It is very easy, just 4 to 5 steps, but it takes time because you need to talk to the configuration guys, the PP variant configuration guys, understand what should be the class, what should be the characteristics. And we being the scheduling related consultants, we don't deal with that. So we don't know multiple stakeholders are involved. Then you need to transfer the class here. Correct. The transfer itself with the ePPDS setup, the transfer is different way. It is not like you go and create an integration model. So a lot of things are involved. So understand the concept, basically the possibilities here, and explore when the time needs that. Okay. All right. So now what have we done by now? Coming back here. So we created, let me keep highlighting it in green. Okay. I don't repeat. We have created resources. Okay. Resource one, resource two. This part is done. The next step is let us go and create a bomb. Okay. We'll not spend a lot of time in the bomb. So anybody knows the transaction code for bomb? Anybody? Nobody? Anybody has other doubt?
CS01.
Yeah. CS01 is the transaction to create a bomb. We may have some bombs for the material, but my material is FG124. The bomb would be created for the finished good 126 cities, right? Yeah. Bomb usage is always one for me. Don't ask me why I'm so, because it's a production bomb. Okay, it is valid from today. Going. Hey. Alternative 2 added to the bomb. Why are there some bombs existing? CS02. There should be some bombs pre-existing because yeah, 1 and 99 are existing, right? Alternative bombs. So I will create bomb number 2 in that case, correct? I don't want to, I mean, or can I delete this? They must have been created long back, but I don't have deletion thing. Yeah? Deletion. What about my authorization? Never mind. I'll create a bomb number 3. Okay. Sorry, 2. No, bomb uses 1, alternative 2. Eh. Okay, fine. So once I come inside, I just need to specify what are my components. That is raw mat 1. Okay. Raw mat 2. Two components I'm going to use. Correct. What are the quantities of this? Okay. So quantities is perhaps 10 quantity of this guy and 10 quantity of this guy to produce one base quantity of the bomb. Base quantity is specified under header. That will see. I think it jumped out of it, but we'll see. Unit of measure, I'll keep it kg, everywhere consistent. Okay. And that's it. Rest of the things are not required, I guess, but we'll see if it needs it. Okay. Press enter. So enter item category is L always for the bomb. This is a stocking item. KG is not supported for material raw mat. Why? So what is the base unit that we selected for this raw mat?
I
PC.
think PC.
PC.
Yeah.
Is it? So base unit for
Piece.
finished good, we need to make it consistent. Okay, this is pieces. And raw mat is also pieces. Kya? Yeah. Okay. So that way then the resource, okay. The resource also we need to validate. What did we do? Okay. So item category is L. Pieces. Fine. So bomb is created, but let me see in the header level what is the base quantity. So the base quantity by default is 1. Okay. This concept is like you to produce one quantity, you will need 10 quantity of raw material 1 and 10 quantity of raw material 2. It's the combination, correct? You will need higher level of raw materials. Fine. No doubt around it, right?
No.
Hello? Right. Okay. So let us save this. And I want to go again because there is a concept of scrap. Okay, not here. It is in the routing. That's why I can't see that. Okay, so let's see whether the bomb is correctly created. So now it would show me all. So 2 number is my active one. And okay, descriptions are wrong. Raw material 1 and 2 as wheels. So I need to change the description also so that I see it in a more meaningful way. Okay, so I'm not spending a lot of time on to bomb. Okay, because it's simple and usually we don't create it, but now let us create a recipe, correct? Because at least if we reach up to the production version, it is good and we would be running short on time soon. So recipe, since we have created resources, we have a choice to either go for a routing or a recipe. Recipe is used in a process industry where you are processing something, say for example, chocolate manufacturing. So you created chocolate mass and then went on processing it next, but you cannot go back from next step to previous step. Routing is used for some sort of discrete industry where you can always go back, right? You just do the assembly thing at every step, correct? So I'm flexible to use both, and I would advise that you guys can also use anything, then go forward. It's like that. But here, if I want to add a phase to this 20, what I'll do is make it 20, indicate that this is a phase. This is again on resource 2, and then give the phase description as mix. This is processing mix uh, sugar. Okay, and done. So enter another operation number. Okay. Hey, why? Okay. This is where I get little confused. I need to specify 0030 here and then specify 30 to the second previous one. Okay. Oh, I should go back and create it again. Once I'm skip this. Skip this. Come on, skip this. How do I delete it, guys? Please help me. Okay. Never mind. I'm not gonna save it. Okay, so the recipe has been created. Okay, like this. Okay, 10 and 20. Okay. Do you know how to add a phase? Have you seen that? I generally get confused here. So this 30 is no, this is 20. It should happen on the same resource. This is the indication of phase. That to complicate it. I need to revise how do we assign the phase. If you guys know, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll just go ahead with these two operations for now and we'll assign the phase by next class.
Yeah, we have to maintain, I guess, connections as well between the operations.
But that they get created automatically, isn't it?
I
I
think
mean,
third
if I
one is superior operation. Anil, guess may have to give the operation 20 over there.
here
No,
20.
no, not there. There 30 only. I mean, beside the phase. I mean, next field. There
I
we should
tried.
Here you
give
can, you have to,
3020.
20.
Anil, we have support. Yeah.
Yeah,
Support.
this one.
Yeah, this one support operation. In
Support
that we
operation.
have
So
to
after
we have
20,
to
it
put
will start
Superior.
30
it
as well.
will
So this is
support that. Yeah.
Okay. I am reading it as sub operation.
Yeah,
That's why I
sub
was
sorry.
complaining.
Yeah.
No, but
Superior
this is
operation.
superior. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean,
So
Okay.
it will help this one.
Okay.
think
Okay. I think it accepted. But this destination meaning is 0 on your default. It's okay. And then second processing. Fine. Yeah, it did accept it. So now what does it mean is I have first operation without any phases, correct? And then I have got second operation where there is third phase on top of it, correct? Sorry. C202. Okay. Didn't it get saved? Yeah, it did. Now let's go to recipe header. I'll already release it, otherwise it will keep haunting me. Okay. Okay. So now let's check if it's intact. It's still showing red. Why? Is there any, or do I have a check here somewhere? We do a check also, right?
this one, I mean, beside this, like selection button at the top.
And for the first 0020, can you please mention superior operation as 0010 as well? I've seen that.
Where? Here?
For this one also. Since
Oh, it's still
it was missing
enabled.
for that.
Yeah, but now it doesn't allow me to change it because it's.
I think it gets enabled only for in your assign
At the
phase.
time.
Okay, but with this setup also, I mean, it is good that it is at this stage. While we assign, then it is more clear whether something is wrong. We will generate the PDS out of it very soon, right? And then we'll see that. So this is to be looked back again, no worries. Very quickly now, what I want to do is to create a production version. Okay, because you remember the PDS is a combination of, where did we write it? PDS is a combination of BOM and routing, correct? BOM and recipe. So let us create a production version. So the transaction to create production version is C223, specified those things, production line, this goes, and let's see if there is anything. There is no production version. Okay, there is no production version looks like. So let us create that FG126. Okay.
Hmm.
Then the production version number you need to specify, which is usually 0001, but you can have different version 0001 version PV, give some text. Then it is valid from 01/01/2023 till, say, it could be time bound, right? So 31/12/2025. Okay. Lot sizes, it should be defaulted. Okay. And I have to explain you this lot sizes. Just like we spoke about lot sizing thing onto material master, there are some lot sizing from and to here also. That is an filtering criteria. But uh, let me talk about it tomorrow. I'll not forget. Okay. Then you need to assign the alternative bomb number 2, correct?
Yes.
Second one is the production
Hmm.
bomb type. Yeah. And then we have a grouping. So here we should be able to select the recipe that we created just now. Task list selection.
Master recipe.
Master recipe, my bad. But it is showing me everything. Okay.
I think
We
it's
have a
not
material.
mandatory. Yes.
No, but for PDS you would need that. Come on. But we did not give any description to PDS also, right? So let me see what was the task list number. It is 5001, right? Yeah, 5001. So assign the grouping number. Group counter was 1, right? Group counter
Yep.
was,
Group counter.
it is this one, right? There was no other,
Yes. Yes.
right? And the type is, it is a master recipe. So
Yeah, master recipe is
yeah, great. Okay. And enter. Let's see. So version already exists. Why didn't it show me then? Never mind. I'll create version number 2. Perfect. So this date is not valid because see, the recipe itself is valid from today. So we cannot make the production version to be valid from 1/1/23. So let us put the date as 21/7. Okay, great. You made changes to product. You want to save? Of course, I'm here to save. Perfect. So this way our production version is created and now it is showing us, hey, where is our production version? This is 0001 and this is
009.
0099. What happened with our production version?
No, I
Let me,
think
sorry.
task list type, it's routing showing at the top.
Where?
Yeah, group.
Task list type.
Task list type
No,
is
task
routing. We should
group.
choose
Okay.
the
Master recipe. Guys are smart. Okay, so here is our production version, correct? From
Yeah.
here itself, if you double click on the bomb, you can redirect to bomb, right? And if you double click on the recipe, you can redirect to recipe. But what is important for us is it's not showing us the, yeah, this one, this tested part, this should be green always. Okay, so click on consistency check and see whether everything is fine or you're getting any errors or warning. So looks like there is no error or warning for us, right? Otherwise it highlights it, the task list or bomb. See, bomb exists. Okay, task list exists. If it doesn't come with this message, then there is a problem. And now it is green. So this way we have created our production version also, right?
Yeah.
Fine. So save it, go back. Now your job before Monday's class would be to fill up this table on your own. Okay, we created the recipe routing and also the production version. So S4 side of it. And then when I say S4 side of it, you need to also keep completing your right side of task. So we may want to do it this way that one of you will share your screen and then I will explain so that one of you will get a hand of it, right, during the meetings. Right. So we still have 4 minutes. I want to logically conclude this thing. So we transferred everything. We transferred the bomb material, the resources, etc. And we have now created the production version. So the next step is to get the PDS to PPDS, correct? So there are two ways to do that. Before we transfer the PDS to PPDS, we need to ensure that the PDS is correctly generated. The production version is rearranged in a different fashion, which we call as PDS for PPDS. And PDS is production data structure. So there is a transaction called PDS underscore MAINT, no SAP APO. So this is a ECC or S4 specific transaction. PDS meant go in there and see whether the PDS is generated. So your FG126 and 1010. Okay, production version based PDS, all these things are selected. You want to give the production version number also if required, right? So it is 0002 and just execute. Let's see if the PDS is generated. So we are able to see two PDSs here. The one which is ending with ES is SNP. Now we don't have SNP, but someone might be using SNP also, right? APO based SNP. So it is generated. Other one without that is the PPDS PDS. The PDS type indicates PPDS. Okay. So expand that PDS. We should be able to see all the BOM components and the operations under that we created. If we do not see something here, like the component tab is missing or operation tab, then something is wrong with the master data that we created. So this is important that you verify it before sending. Header data says everything okay types, component data says what. This is a very bad GUI actually. Please find out if there is um, there is an option to see this on the web app, and let me check that right now. You can also try to search based on the transaction codes, by the way. Okay. PDS underscore meant to be seat. No. So maintain additional data, maybe. Oops. So you don't see it. It means that's not there. Never mind. But go in the component and see whether all the components are seen. So see, first component FG126 is the output component. It is indicated based on the type of component. And two components are there with 10 and 20 number from the BOM as input component. So even the components are correctly coming, right? Is there anything else? Nothing. Then go in the operation data and see whether the operations and phases are coming up. So you have something is fishy. See, only number 20, 30 part is coming up. So here we have got valid from activities 30, where this is the superior operation 20. But what about operation number 10? It's not coming up. This is coming on the resource number 2, capacity and blah, 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 blah. Right. So all the things are coming up, but something has happened with operation number 10. It's not coming up. Correct. So you need to go back and see what has happened on your recipe part. Correct. So operation number 10. So, okay, standard values are not maintained, right?
Yes.
CR, what is it? C202, right? 202. So, okay. Standard values, it is enabling. I think it is something related to the phase it means, because this is recipe and it's been a while I created recipe from. Operation doesn't need it. So we may have to create a recipe for this number of 10 operation also. But since we are at the end of time, I will not go in deeper here. I'll explore it myself, or maybe together we can do that in next class. And anyways, you guys would come prepared before next class with your set of master data. Keep it as simple: one operation, one resource, I don't mind; two operations, two components, I don't mind, or anything else. But I just need this assurance that you are coming up with this next. Correct? Because in the next session on Monday, we would have already got the PDS, etc. in PPDS. So we will start with the step of demand understanding. We'll put in demand, understand demand part, and then we'll go for exit planning sections later on. Okay. So Monday's session, no master data part would be discussed. Okay. Fine. So I hope you guys would respect my request and come back prepared next class. But anyway, if the session today was quite intense, do revise it, because the concepts are actually universally true, and you would need them irrespective of the module that you sit in. Okay.
Sure.
Fine.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
if there are any doubts, of course we can talk
Hi.
about them. Yeah. Yes.
Hi, sir. Sorry to interrupt. This is Jivika from ZaranTech Tech Support Team.
Yes,
This is to
Jivika.
inform you that all the participants should fill the attendance feedback form.
Okay. So that form has been shared with them, right?
Sir, we have shared.
Sure. Okay, guys. So you mean
Anil,
they should stay back on the call? Yeah.
Hello, Anil. This is Jyotsna here. So, one doubt, what are the systems, logical systems you were using? One is S4H and the other one?
Only S4H, none other
Only
than that.
S4H.
Yeah. See,
Okay.
we are not talking to any other system, just one single system. This is S4HANA based embedded PPDS. So,
Okay.
and
Okay.
in fact, if you take a drop down, you will not find multiple logical systems. Only one logical system name there, right?
Okay.
Now also.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Okay. Any other doubt question?
Anil, I think in the resource master, right? We have an active variant. Maybe just wanted to know the significance of that. I mean, like if something, so that is coming from the traditional ECC to APO PPDS also, right? Like when we save the
That's correct.
resource. Yeah.
That's correct.
So I mean, is there a possibility like sometimes I mean the changes might not get captured, or else like the active variant would be completely wiped out? So because we have seen some such cases. So just
See, so usually the way of working for that is, hello, you can hear me, right?
yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So way of working is you have to get the base capacity from some system, right? You are not maintaining capacity in PPDS yourself. You bring it from S4, okay,
Right.
to the active version, then make a copy from that version to another version where you would maintain all the shift sequences and all other things, right? There are multiple things that we will see to be maintained on top because the scheduler would need to create various capacity sequences also, right? January to March, it follows one sequence and so on and so on. Okay. So not to disturb the base capacity coming from the source system, we usually apply multiple versioning out there. But to your question, that could be some sort of inconsistency that the capacity is not getting transferred because or it could be the case for the APO based thing where the actual integration was happening. Here in embedded PPDS, it is actually in the backend, in the technical part, it is the same resource. You are not transferring anything, you are just transforming the resource, right? You just set
Right.
up an advanced
Here.
planning. So let's see. I
Yeah.
mean, keep trying that, make changes on S4 and see whether it is not transferring, then we can see. But I'm sure it should be some sort
I
of temporary inconsistency.
yeah, I think S4 maybe we may not have that problem. Yeah, I
Correct.
think it would be integration. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thanks.
sure. Okay, guys. So then, wish you a great weekend ahead, but self-study based weekend. Spend some time on an hour or two to be should be sufficient to pick up your data, and even if you play around something in advance, right? For the future part, even if we haven't covered, that's no issues. This system is for you to play around, correct? Get your logon pad set up, but anyways, you have access on the web page, so make yourself comfortable with various apps there. And I think they have placed the feedback form so you can fill that up later after the meeting. Okay.
So sorry to interrupt you. Thank you for the session. Guys, we have posted in the chat box. So this is a mandatory process. I request all the participants to fill the feedback form so that it will be easy for us and the trainer to understand the training, whether it's going good or what improvement we have to do on the session.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you then. Enjoy the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Thanks, Anil.
Somebody had a question?
Yeah, thanks.
Yes. Can you hear me, Anil?
That's Kitish. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So actually, I just want to ask, like about the factory calendar settings and all. So can you, like planning calendar, shipping calendar, right? That the setup we have generally in planning side, right? So
So,
will you be, covering that part later or like in the setup, like how it is
see,
affecting our basically the scheduling and yeah.
so production calendar anyways it's in, and that is definitely impacting your scheduling. You're not doing order scheduling on the weekend with this Germany calendar. But my intention was not to go in the other planning side, transportation and other calendars, but we can talk about it in brief sometime towards the end of these sessions. Okay, the differentiation basically.
Yeah, the purpose behind asking this is we have seen some issues regarding that. So,
Is it?
like, it will be good, like, if you explain just fundamentally, not in a deeper level, maybe in some session.
Right. But you can come up with that issue also. It would be helpful to connect understanding against the real life example. So if you
Sure.
know such kind of issue, you can just let me know. I'll cover that up towards the end. We'll just make a note of it.
Okay. Yeah, that will be good. Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Okay. Sure. Then thank you very much, and see you on Monday. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.